Chapter 1101. Everyone, please rise. Ling Xiao stepped into the air and stretched out his hand. Suddenly, a vast amount of divine power exploded and swept out in all directions. Everyone stood up involuntarily, including the titled honorable ones. This powerful divine power made everyone's heart tremble. At the same time, they looked at Ling Xiao and listened to him speak. Everyone. Although Supreme True Dragon is dead, I know from him that the extraterritorial demons may come again at any time. The great calamity has begun, and we don't have much time left. Ling Xiao's words were like a bolt of lightning, instantly causing everyone to tremble. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and fear, and they exploded in an instant. What? The extraterritorial demons are coming again? Oh my God! The great calamity has begun, and it will sweep across the universe. Living beings are like weeds. I'm afraid many people will die again. What should we do? What should we do? Don't be afraid. We have the sky-devouring battle god. He is invincible. He will definitely lead us to defeat the extraterritorial demons. Everyone was discussing animatedly. All of them started to panic, and their eyes were filled with terror. Greetings, Lord Sky-Devouring. Lord Sky-Devouring, do you know when the extraterritorial demons will come? Where will they come from? Long-browed Buddha put his palms together and bowed deeply to Ling Xiao. Long-browed Buddha. You are the little monk beside Bodhi. I didn't expect you to become the abbot of the great Lane Temple in just 10,000 years. Ling Xiao glanced at the long-eyebrow Buddha. Suddenly, he thought of something and said with emotion. Although the long-browed Buddha looked very old, Ling Xiao could still vaguely see the figure of the little monk from back then between his eyebrows. 10,000 years ago, Bodhi Supreme was the abbot of the great Lane Temple. He was also the master of long-browed Buddha. Ling Xiao had discussed with Bodhi Supreme and had seen long-browed several times. 10,000 years had passed. Bodhi Supreme had passed away while sitting cross-legged. Long-browed Buddha had also become old. Amitabha, Lord Sky-Devouring, do you still remember me? I'm old now, but Lord Sky-Devouring is still as elegant as ever. Long-browed Buddha exclaimed. Everyone shuddered. The long-browed Buddha was a man of virtue and prestige in the war god world. He could be said to be one of the most prominent figures in the war god world. Many lords of the Holy Lands were his juniors. But now, the long-browed Buddha was bowing to Ling Xiao. They finally understood what kind of status the strongest person in the world had 10,000 years ago had. 1,000,000 years ago, when the extraterritorial demons descended, war god Scarlet Dragon led the experts of the myriad worlds to fight against the extraterritorial demons, setting off a great war between gods and demons. The result of that battle was naturally our victory, but it was also a Pyrrhic victory. War god Scarlet Dragon died in battle, and before he died, he used a supreme divine ability to seal many demon gods in the origin sea. Looking at Long Eyebrow Buddha and the others, Ling Xiao revealed an unknown secret. When everyone heard that the extraterritorial demons were sealed in the origin sea, their eyes were filled with shock. When they learned that many demon gods had broken free 10,000 years ago and that it was Longxing Supreme who had been guarding the origin sea, killing billions of demon gods and protecting the war god realm, their hearts were filled with deep respect and gratitude. Among the extraterritorial demons, the most powerful one is Demon God King Bo Sun, and Supreme True Dragon has been controlled by Demon God King Bo Sun. Although Supreme True Dragon is dead, I'm afraid it won't be long before Demon God King Bo Sun wakes up and leads the demons to attack the war god world. As for where they are hiding now, I don't know. Ling Xiao shook his head and sighed softly. Lord Sky-Devouring, it seems like there are still 5 heavenly Tao chaotic tablets in the hands of Demon God King Bo Sun. If we can gather all the heavenly Tao chaotic tablets and open the door to the god world, we'll announce it to the heavens. If the gods descend, they will naturally be able to stop this calamity. Long-browed Buddha looked at Ling Xiao and said. Since Supreme True Dragon was controlled by Demon God King Bo Sun, he naturally didn't have the heavenly Tao chaotic tablets with him. As for the 9 heavenly Tao chaotic tablets, according to the emperor, they were treasures refined by a powerful saint. The other 5 tablets were probably in the hands of demon god King Bo Sun. As for the heavenly Tao chaotic tablets, I will try to find them. However, I hope that all the martial Tao sacred grounds can get along peacefully. Don't fight among yourselves and cultivate diligently. Now that the war god world is at the brink of life and death, I hope that everyone can work together to fight against the demons. Ling Xiao said as he looked at the experts indifferently. We will obey the heaven-devouring battle god's decree. Many experts from the sacred grounds bowed and said. Just like what Ling Xiao said, the war god world was at the brink of life and death. If they continued to fight among themselves, they would undoubtedly be courting death. Moreover, Ling Xiao had proven his Tao and become a god. Many of the sacred grounds supremes seemed to have seen hope. All of them were prepared to go into seclusion and cultivate diligently to break through to the divine spirit realm. The great battle between Ling Xiao and Supreme True Dragon had stirred up many experts. In the past, it was said that those below the supremes were ants. Now, it could be said that those below the divine spirit realm were ants. If one couldn't prove his Tao and become a god, he was just a pile of dust. With a heavy heart, everyone bid farewell and left. From today onwards, the name of the sky-devouring supreme would resound throughout the world. He deserved to be the strongest in the world. Master, Demon God King Bo Sun cultivates the 10,000 transformations demon scripture and can condense the 10,000 transformations demon body, which is similar to an avatar. I think Supreme True Dragon must have cultivated the 10,000 transformations demon body, which is why he has such terrifying power. I don't know how many thousand transformations demon bodies Bo Sun has condensed. If all the 1,000 transformations demon body were to return to his body, his strength would increase greatly even if he couldn't fully recover. Master, you must be careful. Zhu Ganglai said as he looked at Ling Xiao solemnly. The 1,000 transformations demon scripture. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. Bo Sun was a peerless expert at the Divine King realm. Even if he couldn't fully recover his cultivation, Ling Xiao might not be able to deal with him. He might not be able to deal with Bo Sun if he only used his physical body to become a god. Could it be that he had to open the gate of the divine realm and invite the experts from the divine realm to come and kill Bo Sun like what the long-browed Buddha had said? Zhu Ganglai, how much strength can Bo Sun recover? Ling Xiao asked Zhu Ganglai. Zhu Ganglai thought for a while and said, if the gate of the divine realm wasn't closed, Bo Sun wouldn't be an exception even if he could fully recover his cultivation. However, now that the gate of the divine realm is closed and restricted by the law of this realm, Bo Sun can only exert the strength of a true god no matter how strong he is. The strength of a true god. Chapter 1102. Although Master's physical body has become a god, it's already difficult for him to fight against a peak divine spirit realm expert, let alone a true god realm expert. Unless Master can become a god using the laws, with the double god realm and the wordless heavenly book, he might be able to fight. Zhu Ganglai said slowly. Becoming a god using the laws. How difficult. Ling Xiao sighed softly. Although his cultivation had reached the titled supreme realm and seemed to be only a step away from becoming a god, the door to the god realm was closed and he couldn't comprehend the divine Tao laws and refine the divine qi. The difficulty of becoming a god using the laws was no less than becoming a god using the physical body. Ling Xiao could only become a god using his physical body because he obtained the heavenly thunder calamity tea. Becoming a god using the laws wasn't something that could be done in a short period of time. Let's think about this at length. Ling Xiao said slowly. If there wasn't any great fortune in a short period of time, it would be difficult to become a god using the laws. Whoosh! Ling Xiao walked down slowly from the 9 heavens. The old goat, Taoist Wuliang, Long Outyen, Lu Jiani, Moon Goddess, Phoenix Maiden, and the other familiar faces were filled with excitement. Ha ha ha! Ling Xiao. It's been 10,000 years. You finally got your revenge and killed that despicable Zhenlong. The old goat was so excited that his eyes were red. He couldn't help but run up and say, "Killing Zhenlong isn't considered revenge. Our real enemy now is the extraterrestrial demon." Ling Xiao said with a smile. "Xiao, you're finally back. Where have you been for the past 6 years? Mother doesn't care if you're the sky-devouring supreme. Mother only knows that you're my Xiao, and always will be." Long Hanyan's red eyes were filled with joy. She walked up and hugged Ling Xiao tightly. Ling Xiao's heart was also very warm. He was very attached to this kind of pure maternal love. In his previous life, he was an orphan. In this life, he finally had biological parents. He cherished them very much. "Mother, don't worry. In my previous life, I was an orphan without parents. In this life, I'm Ling Xiao with mother." Ling Xiao smiled gently and hugged Long Hanyan. His heart was incomparably warm and peaceful. "White Dragon Horse, Ling Xiao is my big brother. How dare you call Master big brother? I think you need to be taught a lesson." The old goat's gaze landed on the white dragon horse and looked at it with some malicious intent. "Your big brother? Bah! It was just an old goat. How dare it compare with the great and noble dragon horse? Even if you want to be a mount, no one will want you." The white dragon horse looked at the old goat arrogantly and said disdainfully, "What did you say? A mixed-blood dragon horse dares to be arrogant in front of me? If I don't teach you a lesson today, you won't be convinced, right?" The old goat immediately became angry, and a hint of hostility appeared in his eyes. The goat and the horse looked at each other and were about to fight. "All right, stop messing around." Ling Xiao had no choice but to stop them. He was afraid that these two idiots would start fighting just like that. Everyone smiled helplessly. However, the dragon horse, a mythical beast from ancient legends, had appeared. Moreover, it had become Ling Xiao's mount. Everyone was amazed. "Greetings, Master." Lu Jianyi also bowed with a face full of admiration and excitement. He also completely understood that the young man on Qianyuan Mountain was Ling Xiao. He was still wondering how such a powerful person could appear in the God of War world. He did not expect it to be Ling Xiao. "Cousin, this white dragon horse is so powerful. Even the supreme true dragon suffered a loss in its hands. It's much better than me." Long Outyan also walked up excitedly and looked at the white dragon horse in surprise. Fire Qilin, on the other hand, was depressed. He had never seen such a shameless master. Previously, he had begged Ling Xiao for Fire Qilin to be his mount. Now that he saw the white dragon horse, his eyes were wide open. "Ling Xiao, we haven't seen each other for 6 years. I didn't expect you to ascend to the divine realm and become the most powerful person in the world. It's really worth celebrating. However, after so many years, we really miss you." Jian Wushuang, Duge Shui, Li Jingming, and the rest were all smiling as they spoke. "Greetings, Founder." The experts from Changsun sect, led by Nangong Xian and the Great Elder, were all extremely excited as they bowed to Ling Xiao. They were the most shocked. The demon-like Holy Sun was actually the reincarnation of the Founder, Sky-Devouring Supreme, from 10,000 years ago. However, when they thought of how powerful the Founder was, they knew that Changsun sect would definitely become the #1 sanctuary in the God of War world in the future. Nangong Qing, Lu Piapiao, Ling Qingqing, and the other ladies were all excited and complicated. They were excited because they finally saw Ling Xiao again after more than 10 years. Ling Xiao's identity was actually the Founder, Sky-Devouring Supreme from 10,000 years ago. This made them feel extremely complicated. "Everyone, it's been a long time." Ling Xiao also smiled and cupped his hands towards the crowd. After returning to Changsun sect and seeing so many old friends, Ling Xiao felt extremely emotional. However, he also felt very close to them. Buzz! A light flashed in the void and a chubby little boy and an old man with white hair and beard walked over slowly. Their bodies were emitting waves of divinity. However, They looked a little weak, as though their vitality had been greatly damaged. Their faces were filled with fatigue. Ling Xiao, you're back. That's great. Quick, follow me to take a look. The Divine General of Time is in a bad situation. When the little boy and the white-haired old man saw Ling Xiao, the little boy's eyes immediately revealed a trace of surprise and joy. You guys are... Ling Xiao looked at the two of them suspiciously. He felt that they were familiar, but he couldn't recognize them. When he heard that Ling Zhen was in a bad situation, his face changed. Ling Xiao, they are big radish and longevity grass. They have already transformed. In these few years, if we rely on their divine liquid to prolong the Divine General of Time's life, I'm afraid. You should go and take a look. The old goat's eyes were filled with worry as he said hurriedly. Big radish and longevity grass. Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with disbelief. The transformation of divine medicine was something that only appeared in legends. He didn't expect these two fellows to have already transformed. However, he didn't have the time to chat with them. His eyes were filled with worry as he hurriedly followed them into Changsan Mountain. 6 years ago, in order to help Ling Xiao kill the left and right holy masters, Ling Zhen didn't hesitate to use the power of time. As a result, he suffered a backlash from the power of time. He was like a lamp that had run out of oil. He relied on the divine liquid from big radish and longevity grass to survive until now. He didn't expect his condition to worsen suddenly. Ling Xiao was burning with anxiety. He didn't have time to chat with the rest and quickly left. Soon, he saw Ling Zhen in a palace. Chapter 1103. Ling Zhen was lying on a white jade bed. The white jade was a 10,000-year cold jade that contained an extremely cold aura. It could seal Ling Zhen's vitality and prevent his injuries from worsening. At that moment, Ling Zhen looked pale and his body was filled with a deathly aura. The vitality in his body was extremely weak. In between his eyebrows, there seemed to be a ball of black aura that was trying to invade his consciousness. How could this be? Ling Xiao was shocked and a tinge of anxiety appeared in his eyes. He quickly began to check on Ling Zhen's injuries. There was a chaotic power of time in Ling Zhen's body and it contained the broken rules of heaven and earth. It was constantly devouring the vitality in his body. There was still a majestic vitality in Ling Zhen's body. It was gathered by the divine liquid of the divine medicine. It was protecting his heart meridians and his consciousness from the invasion of the power of time and the rules of heaven and earth. If it weren't for the big radish and the longevity grass, Ling Zhen wouldn't have been able to hold on for 6 years. Xiao, do you have a way to treat your father's injuries? Long Hanyan was also very anxious as she looked at Ling Xiao with anticipation. Mother, don't worry. I will definitely be able to heal father's injuries. You guys go out first. I will treat father's injuries. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. Great. That's great. Long Hanyan cried tears of joy. She looked at Ling Zhen worriedly and left the palace with the rest. Ling Xiao looked at Ling Zhen. Although the chaotic power of time in Ling Zhen's body was strong, it wasn't impossible to resolve it. The wordless heavenly book should be able to devour it easily. However, the wordless heavenly book was currently suppressing the 7 souls' scattered soul light in Jin Sei's consciousness. This put Ling Xiao in a difficult position. It seems that I can only use the cycle of time to slowly absorb and refine the power. Ling Xiao thought about it and said. He had also cultivated the cycle of time and naturally knew how to guide the power of time in Ling Zhen's body. However, he would have to bear the backlash of the power of time. However, Ling Zhao's physical body had become a god. Even the rainbow blood pearl had integrated into Ling Zhao's body, allowing him to undergo a complete transformation. He had finally broken through to the divine dragon body realm. With the strength of his physical body, it shouldn't be too much of a problem for him to bear the backlash of the power of time. Wang! Ling Zhao's body glowed with light as mysterious ripples spread out. His palm landed on Lingzhen's back as he channeled the power of time, guiding the power of time in Lingzhen's body. Rumble. Like a tsunami, the chaotic power of time in Ling Zhen's body surged into Ling Xiao's body and was slowly refined by Ling Xiao's time cycle. Huh? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He suddenly felt that after refining the chaotic time force and the shattered laws of heaven and earth, the divine power in his body actually began to slowly grow again. After Ling Xiao's cultivation had reached the level of titled supreme, the divine power in his body had increased to the maximum. If he wanted to continue increasing, he would have to ascend to the divine spirit realm. Although Ling Xiao's physical body had become that of a god, his divine power law cultivation was still only at the level of a titled supreme. The three treasures of essence, energy, and spirit represented three different paths to becoming a god. Among them, using the divine power law to become a god was the path of energy. It was the most common path. After all, the divine power law was spread all over the universe. Comprehending the way of heaven and becoming a god was the easiest. The second path was the primordial spirit realm. If one wanted to use the primordial spirit realm to ascend to the primordial spirit realm, they would have to give up their physical body and walk the path of the primordial spirit realm to become a god. However, now that the door of the divine path was closed, if one gave up their physical body and used the primordial spirit to ascend to the divine spirit realm, it would be no different from courting death. They wouldn't be able to enter the divine world and condense their divine body. The most difficult path was to ascend to the divine realm using one's physical body. Ascend to the divine realm using one's own strength to shatter the vacuum and condense eternity and immortality. That was why Ling Xiao's physical body was so difficult and precious. However, after refining the chaotic power in Ling Zhen's body, Ling Xiao actually saw the possibility of using the divine power law to become a god. If I can use the essence, energy, and spirit realms to ascend to the three divine realms, even if I enter the divine world in the future, I will be able to compete. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and revealed a look of enlightenment. To ascend to the divine realm using the essence, energy, and spirit realms was definitely an extremely difficult path. Therefore, there weren't many people who chose this path since ancient times. Most of them would choose the easiest way to ascend to the divine power law. This time, when he healed Ling Zhen's injuries, Ling Xiao saw a possibility. If he could use the essence, energy, and spirit realms to ascend to the three divine realms, he would have much more confidence when facing the demon god King Bo Sun in the future. If Ling Xiao hadn't used the wordless heavenly book before his physical body became a god, Ling Zhen's injuries would have been extremely troublesome for him. However, to Ling Xiao now, it wasn't much of a problem. After a few hours, all the foreign energy in Ling Zhen's body was completely refined by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao helped Ling Zhen consume a healing elixir. Seeing that the energy in his body had stabilized, he was relieved. Xiao, how's your father? Seeing Ling Xiao come out, Long Hanyan's eyes instantly revealed a look of anticipation. Mother, father is fine now. It shouldn't be long before he wakes up. Ling Xiao smiled and said. Really? That's great. I'll go take a look at your father. Have a good chat with Xiao Wu and Xiao Yu. Don't bully them. Long Hanyan said with a smile. Then, she gave Ling Xiao a look and turned to enter the room. At that moment, Phoenix Maiden and Moon Deity were standing behind Long Hanyan. After hearing Long Hanyan's words, they couldn't help but blush. Ling Xiao also looked at Phoenix Maiden and Moon Deity awkwardly. The atmosphere was charming and gentle. Moon Deity, I didn't expect your cultivation to have reached the titled honorable realm. Congratulations. Can you feel the presence of Moon Mother? Ling Xiao coughed softly and looked at Moon Deity as he asked. 6 years ago, Moon Deity was only a half step to honorable realm. In just 6 years, she had reached the titled honorable realm. This speed of improvement was heaven-defying. Ling Xiao guessed that it might be because of Moon Mother. After all, Phoenix Maiden's talent was extraordinary. She was only at the 3rd level honorable realm now. I've only obtained the Moon Mother's cultivation, that's all. It's not my true strength. Moreover, I feel that it won't be long before I break through to the godly realm. At that time, Moon Mother might really return. Moon Deity's face had a cold smile as she spoke calmly. The Moon Mother's cultivation. Can you let me see your primordial spirit? If I can communicate with Moon Mother's primordial spirit, I might be able to reconstruct her physical body. Chapter 1104. It's no use. Don't worry, I'm fine. However, Xiaowu has missed you a lot in these 6 years. Moon Goddess smiled faintly. Phoenix Girl's face instantly turned red. She did not dare to look into Ling Xiao's eyes and said softly, Sister Moon Goddess, don't talk nonsense. Everyone in Changsun sect is very happy that Ling Xiao is back. After she finished speaking, the Phoenix Maiden raised her head and looked at Ling Xiao. Her eyes were filled with a faint smile, mixed with deep emotions. Ling Xiao sighed in his heart. How could he not understand Phoenix Girl's feelings? However, it was a pity that he was destined to be unable to accept it. Ling Xiao did not know what to say and felt a little awkward. However, very quickly, Old Goat, Taoist Wuliang, Long Outyan, Lu Jianyi, Jian Wushuang, Dugu Shui and the others came over to help Ling Xiao. On the other hand, the big radish looked like a 2- or 3-year-old kid. It looked very mischievous and adorable. The moment it appeared, it flew onto Ling Xiao's shoulder and hugged Ling Xiao's neck to ask for a present. Then, with snot and tears, it told Ling Xiao how it had used the divine liquid to prolong Ling Zhen's life all these years. As for longevity grass, his hair and beard were all white and he looked like an immortal. When he looked at Ling Xiao, his eyes were full of smiles and there was even an inexplicable look in them. Ling Xiao, Zhu Biao said that you went to reincarnation world in these 6 years. Quickly tell us what happened. Old Goat shouted. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao and they were very curious about his experience in these 6 years. In the few hours that Ling Xiao was healing Ling Zhen, Zhu Biao had already told them about Ling Xiao's experience in these few years. However, there were many things that even Zhu Biao did not know. Zhu Biao is right. I did go to reincarnation world in these 6 years. Ling Xiao smiled and told them about how he fell into reincarnation 6 years ago and was brought to reincarnation world by reincarnation beast. This conversation went on for a few hours, and the sky had already darkened. Ling Xiao took out the divine beasts that he had killed in Kunwu Holy Mountain. Those divine beasts contained powerful fluctuations of power of divine path. To everyone, they were simply unimaginable treasures. The old goat, the white dragon horse, and Long Outyan's eyes widened. They all rushed forward to snatch the meat, and in the end, they turned it into a delicious dish. The old goat and Taoist Wuliang took out dozens of jars of wine as if they were performing a magic trick. Everyone sat at the top of the longevity mountain. Above their heads was a sky full of stars that sprinkled down resplendent starlight. The sea of clouds lingered in the distance and the mountain breeze was cool and refreshing. It was extremely comfortable. When everyone heard that Ling Xiao had fought against geniuses in the reincarnation realm, slaughtered immortals, swept away invincible enemies, and finally killed his way into the sealed land and killed many demonic gods, they were all fired up. They couldn't wait to fight alongside Ling Xiao. What shocked everyone the most was that the seemingly simple and honest Zhu Ganglai, who was gnawing on a piece of meat, was actually a demon god, and he had been subdued by Ling Xiao. When everyone heard this, Outyan and Old Goat, who were sitting next to Zhu Ganglai, almost jumped out of their seats. They spat out the wine in their mouths onto Zhu Ganglia's face as if they had seen a ghost. So what if he's a demon god? I'm following Master now, and we're all good brothers in the future. Come, let's drink. Zhu Ganglai said innocently. He then pulled Outyan and Old Goat to sit down and drink with them. The Old Goat and Long Outyan also seemed to be drunk. They quickly forgot about the demon god and began to drink with Zhu Ganglai. After a while, they started to call each other brothers, as if they were a family. Everyone smiled helplessly. At the same time, they looked at Ling Xiao with admiration. Ling Zhao's strength had reached an unimaginable level for him to be able to subdue even the demon god. When they heard that Shui Wei had become the saintess of the Reincarnation Palace, supported the entire Reincarnation Palace by herself, fought against the demon race, and was forced to marry by Yin Jiutian, everyone was heartbroken and angry. The ups and downs of the past 6 years made everyone extremely shocked and emotional. However, most of them were more curious about Ling Zhao's identity as the Heaven-Devouring Supreme. Ling Zhao, the true Dragon Supreme, is dead. You have avenged your great hatred. Do you know where Jinsei is now? The old goat seemed to be drunk as he spoke. Jinsei. The name seemed to have some kind of magical power, calming everyone down instantly. The Phoenix Maiden, in particular, revealed a hint of sadness in her eyes. Longevity Paragon Jinsei was Ling Zhao's cultivation partner in his previous life. Phoenix Girl had sensed that Ling Zhao loved someone deeply in his heart. How could she not know that that person was Jinsei? However, 10,000 years had passed. Was Jinsei really still alive? I have found Jinsei. Ling Zhao looked at everyone and said slowly. What? Ling Zhao's words were like a sudden clap of thunder. Everyone was shocked, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. You really found Jinsei? Where is she? Old Goat couldn't be bothered to drink anymore. His eyes were filled with excitement as he looked at Ling Zhao. This is what I wanted to tell everyone. After leaving the reincarnation realm, I went to the sealed world in the Origin Sea and found Jinsei there. However, she was already hit by demon god King Bo Sun's 7 souls dispersing soul light. Ling Zhao's voice was rather gloomy as he recounted how he had found Jinsei in the Origin Sea. Everyone was shocked to hear this. Longevity Paragon has guarded the demon clan alone for 10,000 years. How admirable! Jian Wushuang was a man of few words, but he couldn't help but raise his cup as his eyes were filled with deep admiration. It is all thanks to Longevity Paragon that the War God continent could have 10,000 years of peace. Let's work together to kill Demon God King Bo Sun and save Longevity Paragon. Li Jingming, Dugu Shui, and the others said solemnly. Jinsei had endured 10,000 years of loneliness in order to protect the War God Great World and suppress billions of demons. She had won everyone's respect and admiration. Ling Zhao, I believe Sister Jinsei will wake up. I wish the two of you a long life together and never be separated. Phoenix Girl, who had been silent all this time, seemed to have made up her mind. She suddenly raised her head and smiled brilliantly as she raised her cup to Ling Zhao. However, her slender fingers were trembling and her face was pale. Her heart was extremely unsettled. Phoenix Girl's heart was filled with bitterness. She knew she had lost. No matter what, she couldn't compare to Jinsei's 10,000 years of waiting. No wonder Ling Zhao's heart was so firm while she could never take the next step. If Ling Zhao accepted her despite Jinsei's 10,000 years of waiting, Phoenix Girl would never be able to forgive herself. That would mean she had underestimated Ling Zhao, underestimated Jinsei, and underestimated herself. Moon Goddess glanced at Phoenix Girl worriedly but didn't say anything. Although she felt bitter in her heart, she had to wake up in the end. Thank you. Chapter 1105. Everyone toasted each other and laughed as they talked about the past few years. For 6 years, no one had been as relaxed as they were today. In the end, everyone was drunk at the peak of the Longevity Mountain. The old goat and the white dragon horse were drunk. These two fools even fought, and their faces were all bruised and swollen. In the end, after drinking a few pots of wine, they began to put their arms around each other's shoulders and called each other brothers. Long Outyen, Zhu Biao, and Lu Jiani ate until their stomachs were round. They were all satisfied and fell asleep with a faint smile on their faces. Even the big radish, the spirit herb, actually started to fight for meat and wine. After it got drunk, it swayed and rolled its head around, giggling to itself. The longevity grass, on the other hand, looked sage-like. After drinking a few cups of wine, it looked nostalgic. It looked at the void in the distance and drank by itself. Jian Wushuang, De Shui, and Li Jingming were all drunk. They wanted to compete with Ling Xiao, but they all fell to the ground drunk. The Phoenix Lady and the Moon God had already left at some point. It turned out that the people from the Longevity sect, Nangong Xian, Great Elder, and Nangong Qing had left them alone and did not disturb them. Moreover, they still needed some time to digest the news that Ling Xiao was the sky-devouring supreme. It was too unbelievable. In the end, Ling Xiao stood alone at the peak of the Longevity Mountain and looked at the calm sea of clouds. The full moon in the sky shone brightly and the stars lit up the dark sky. Ling Xiao was a little drunk. Once upon a time, he seemed to have stood here with Jin Sei to admire the moon. Now, he was the only one left. For some reason, Ling Xiao missed Jin Sei very much and felt sad. After 10,000 years, he finally saw Jin Sei. However, Jin Sei was poisoned by the seven souls dispersing light. Her life was in danger and he felt helpless. When would he be strong enough to protect the people around him and never be separated again? Jin Sei. I miss you very much. I miss you very much. Ling Xiao murmured softly as he looked at the bright full moon in the distance and faced the cold mountain wind. Suddenly, Ling Xiao's body shook and his eyes were filled with joy. He opened the small world, and a figure in a red dress walked out of it. Jin Sei woke up. Ling Xiao stared at the figure in front of him in a daze. His eyes were filled with great surprise and excitement, and his entire body began to tremble. Big brother Ling Xiao, I missed you so much. With a soft murmur, a woman in a red dress walked out from the bright moonlight. She was tall, had jade-like skin, and had picturesque features. She exuded a peerless aura of elegance and magnificence. She had a faint smile on her face and her eyes were filled with excitement. Although her face was a little pale, it was still difficult to hide her peerless temperament. She was like a goddess from the 9 heavens who had descended to the mortal world. Ling Xiao was a little dazed. Who else could this woman be other than Jin Sei? 10,000 years of waiting had finally come to fruition today. Ling Xiao's heart was filled with emotions. How lucky was the heavens to him. Jin Sei walked up and hugged Ling Xiao. Once upon a time, such a scene had appeared countless times in Ling Xiao's dreams. Tens of thousands of years of loneliness and waiting, all for that figure that he yearned for day and night. But now, as he embraced Jin Sei and felt her warmth, Ling Xiao actually had a surreal feeling. Jin Sei, is it really you? Is it really you? Ling Xiao's body trembled with excitement, and his eyes turned red. Jin Sei had been poisoned by the 7 soul-dissipating soul light. Although the wordless heavenly book had suppressed it, she had still fallen into a coma. Although Zhu Ganglai had said that Jin Sei would wake up after the energy in her body had reached a balance, Ling Xiao still found it hard to believe. It's me. Big brother Ling Xiao, it's been 10,000 years. I knew you were fine. I finally see you again. Jin Sei said softly, her eyes filled with joy and excitement. At the peak of Longevity Mountain, the full moon hung high in the sky. Resplendent starlight shone down, illuminating the sea of clouds in a dazzling light. A pair of people hugged each other, forming a beautiful picture. This moment was quiet, and no one disturbed them. Ling Xiao hugged Jin Sei tightly, afraid that this was just a dream. When he woke up, everything would still be the same. After a long time, the two separated. Jin Sei looked at Ling Xiao seriously, her gaze as gentle as water, and her smile was full of joy. Jin Sei, you're really too silly. Why did you have to bear so much on your own? Ling Xiao looked at Jin Sei, his eyes filled with tenderness. Ling Xiao's heart ached when he thought of how Jin Sei had stayed in the Origin Sea for 10,000 years, suppressing the demon race on her own, enduring 10,000 years of loneliness. Big brother Ling Xiao, I know you're definitely not dead, so I have to protect this world for you and wait for your return. It's really good to see you now. Jin Sei's face was filled with a dazzling smile that seemed to light up the dark sky. It was as if only in front of Ling Xiao, that peerless sword goddess who could suppress the world, that eternal sovereign who could slay gods and demons with a single strike of her sword, would reveal her little daughter's side. "You're really too silly. Jinsei, just how did you survive these 10,000 years?" Ling Xiao stroked Jinsei's white hair tenderly and said. He could sense that Jinsei's cultivation no longer fluctuated at all. The seven soul-dissipating soul light firmly occupied her sea of consciousness, forming a mysterious balance with the wordless heavenly book. Jinsei's white hair danced in the wind, and her life force seemed to be almost exhausted. Ling Xiao's heart ached. 10,000 years ago, Big Brother Ling Xiao and Supreme True Dragon went to search for the Scarlet Dragon War God's tomb. Later on, news of you being killed by Supreme True Dragon came. Jinsei and Ling Xiao sat at the top of the Longevity Mountain, surrounded by a sea of clouds and a mountain breeze. Jinsei recounted the events of the past 10,000 years. Originally, when the news of Ling Xiao's death spread, Jinsei was devastated. Just as she was about to search for Ling Xiao and seek vengeance from Supreme True Dragon, a group of extraterrestrial demons broke through the sealed world and invaded the War God's world. That calamity caused the people of War God's world to be plunged into misery and suffering. The Longevity sect also suffered heavy casualties. In the end, Jinsei was heavily injured, but she unintentionally awakened the power left in her by the spiritual sage. In the end, by chance, she entered the sealed world and suppressed the demon race. Jinsei, is the spiritual sovereign still alive and still in your body? Ling Xiao asked slowly, a sharp glint in his eyes. Chapter 1106. The spiritual elder is dead. Jinsei let out a soft sigh as she slowly spoke. The spirit sovereign is dead, but I've inherited all of the divine power she left behind. In the end, she took me in as her disciple and told me to carry out her final wishes and guard the sealed world. At that time, I was completely disheartened and wanted to leave the War God's world, so I went to the sealed world. Jinsei's words put Ling Xiao's heart at ease. As long as the spiritual elder was not scheming to take over Jinsei's body, Ling Xiao was naturally relieved. However, there were still many secrets on Jinsei, some of which even Jinsei herself did not know. For example, even if Jinsei was not related to the spiritual elder, why did Jinsei look exactly like the spiritual elder in the spirit tribe? Ling Xiao would have to find the answers to these questions himself. Jinsei, do you know where Lin Feng and the others are? A few years ago, I found Lu Jianyi, but he has turned into a child and seems to know nothing about his past. Ling Xiao asked Jinsei. In his previous life, he had 7 true disciples, but only Lu Jianyi had been found. There was no news about the others. Jianyi has turned into a child. If that's the case, perhaps Lin Feng and the others are still alive. Jinsei's eyes lit up, as if she had suddenly thought of something, and spoke with surprise. In the great calamity 10,000 years ago, Lin Feng and the others fought bravely, but were all heavily injured in the end. I sealed them in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Brother Shura also sealed himself in the Thousand Coffin Mountain because he went to help the Longevity sect. Perhaps we can find them there. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, the Thousand Coffin Mountain. He had once heard the current Shura sect leaders say that the Shura Supreme was in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. If Lin Feng and the others were in the Thousand Coffin Mountain, it would be good news for Ling Xiao. In his previous life, Ling Xiao had 7 true disciples. They were the first disciple Mu Lin Feng, second disciple Dugu Longcheng, third disciple Yi Qianjue, fourth disciple Lu Jianyi, fifth disciple Yan Yangtian, sixth disciple Lu Gaqin, and seventh disciple Ji Hangong. According to Jinsei, the 7 of them had been sealed in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Then why had Lu Jianyi escaped earlier? Perhaps this question could only be answered by going to the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Ling Xiao and Jinsei confided in each other, as if they were trying to make up for the time they had lost in the past 10,000 years. When she heard that Ling Xiao had been reborn because of the wordless heavenly book, and all the things that had happened along the way, Jinsei's eyes were also filled with shock. In just a few short decades, Ling Xiao had already reached the supreme god realm. Such an achievement could already be said to be unprecedented. Big brother Ling Xiao, I once read about the three gods realm in the inheritance of the spiritual sage. If you can reach the three gods realm in the mortal world, your future will definitely be limitless. Jin Se seemed to have thought of something as she looked at Ling Xiao. Jin Se, in your opinion, if I reach the three gods realm, do you think I can contend against demon god King Bo Sun? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. Jin Se was probably the only person who had exchanged blows with demon god King Bo Sun. It's hard to say. Jin Se's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness as she said, when I entered the sealed world, demon god King Bo Sun had already escaped. According to the information that I obtained from the various demon gods, demon god King Bo Sun's 1,000 transformations demon scripture can split into thousands of clones, and even reincarnate. His original body should have been severely injured, so he should have split his primordial spirit, gathered the 1,000 transformations demon body, and finally returned to his original body. In the past 10,000 years, I don't know how much he has recovered, but the seven souls dispersing soul light is extremely powerful. If his original body descends, even if it's only a 10,000th of his strength, it's still not something that we can contend against. As for the three gods realm, we might be able to fight. Jin Se, don't worry. I will definitely kill Bo Sun and cure you of the poison of the seven souls dispersing soul light. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of determination. I believe in you. Jin Se smiled faintly. After seeing Ling Xiao, Jin Se felt that the 10,000 years of waiting and loneliness were actually nothing. It was really good to be able to see him again. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of worry. Jin Se's body probably wouldn't be able to hold on for more than a few years. Unfortunately, Jin Se's body had the poison of the seven souls dispersing soul light. Ling Xiao had no way of extending her lifespan because the divine medicine that could extend her lifespan could very well break the balance between the seven souls dispersing soul light and the wordless heavenly book. At that time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Ling Xiao and Jin Se sat at the peak of Longevity Mountain for an entire night. On the second day, the morning sun jumped out of the sea of clouds, emitting millions of rays of dazzling light. It was as though the heavens and earth were lit up in an instant. The peak of Longevity Mountain was filled with thousands of rays of light, dazzling and dazzling, as though it was a divine realm. Longevity Mountain had never been as beautiful as it was now. Ling Xiao and Jin Se stood at the peak of Longevity Mountain, their robes and hair fluttering in the wind. They were like a pair of immortals, making people unable to bear to disturb them. Unknowingly, all the disciples of Longevity sect had already arrived at the Longevity Square. With Nangong Xian and the Great Elder as the leaders, all the disciples of Longevity sect stood with their hands behind their backs. Their eyes were filled with fanaticism and worship. Naturally, there were some faces that Ling Xiao was familiar with, such as Nangong Qing, Ling Qingqing, Lu Piapiao, Ling Zhao's in-name disciple, Master Jiao Mu, Wang Chuanxiong, Gu Zhong, Wang Han, Ling Juechen, Xia Huang, and the others. Ling Xiao and Jin Se turned around and looked at the crowd calmly. When the crowd saw Jin Se beside Ling Xiao, their eyes were filled with incomparable shock. Wasn't the lady in the red dress beside Ling Xiao the longevity paragon? At this moment, the statue of longevity paragon and Jin Se were facing each other from afar. Regardless of appearance or temperament, they were exactly the same. Greetings, Ancestor Devouring Sky Supreme. Greetings, Ancestor Longevity Paragon. Everyone was stunned for a moment, then understood almost instantly. They all bowed deeply towards Ling Xiao and Jin Se. 10,000 years ago, Longevity Sect's two most outstanding figures, Devouring Sky Supreme and Longevity Paragon, had both appeared. This was the fortune of Longevity Sect, and also the fortune of the world. Nangong Xian, the Great Elder, and the other elders were filled with excitement. It was as though they had seen the day Longevity Sect became the #1 sanctuary in the world. Their bodies were trembling. As for Nangong Qing, Ling Qingqing, and Lu Piao, they looked at Ling Xiao with a complicated and bitter gaze. Cheers filled the sky above Longevity Sect like thunder, shaking the void in all directions. Chapter 1107. Under Ling Xiao's leadership, the Longevity Sect moved into the Heavenly God's Stone and named it the Longevity World. Although the Longevity World was not as big as the War God's World, it was still a complete small world. The mountains and rivers within a radius of 10 million li had already become the Longevity Sect's territory. In the Longevity World, the mountains and rivers were vast. Numerous divine mountains rose from the ground. Countless rare birds and beasts galloped between the mountains. Countless precious spiritual herbs and exotic flowers grew in the Longevity World. As a new world, the Longevity World's spiritual energy was 10 times or even 100 times more than the War God's world. Thus, the Longevity World was the true supreme holy land to the entire Longevity Sect. The Path Understanding Tree seemed to like the Longevity World more. Furthermore, Ling Xiao activated the Longevity World's origin energy, causing the Path Understanding Tree to grow rapidly. Now, it was already over 1,000 zhang tall. The tree crown was like a dome. The leaves were luxuriant and it emitted a mysterious and ancient aura. The area enveloped by the Path Understanding Tree became a supreme holy land for cultivation. It allowed the Longevity Sect's disciples' cultivation to soar by leaps and bounds. The Longevity Mountain was directly moved into the Longevity World by Ling Xiao. Furthermore, he had the old goat move 360 divine mountains and laid down the Zhou Tian star formation. As for the 8 Desolates region, Ling Xiao did not give up. It became the outer sect of the Longevity Sect. The inner sect was in the Longevity World and the outer sect was in the 8 Desolates region. Only the most talented disciples would be able to enter the world of longevity. Thus, the Longevity Sect's disciples were all filled with enthusiasm. Their cultivation began to soar by leaps and bounds. Originally, Nangong Xian wanted to pass the position of sect leader to Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao and Jin Sei did not agree. Instead, they allowed Nangong Xian to continue leading the Longevity Sect. They restored the ancient system and ascended to the heavens to worship their ancestors. The Longevity Sect could be said to be changing day by day. It had already begun to transform into the #1 holy land in the world. 2 generations of the War God's temple successors were captured by Ling Xiao. However, the Primal Chaos Sacred Body and the 5 Elements Sacred Body's peerless talents still made Ling Xiao regard them highly. However, when he and Zhu Ganglai examined them carefully, they discovered that these two were not the true Chaotic Sacred Body and 5 Elements Sacred Body. In their bodies, there was a mark left behind by Bo Sun Demon God King. They were actually the myriad transformations demon body chosen by Bo Sun Demon God King. Demon God Bo Sun had extracted a trace of the law of primal chaos and the law of 5 elements and fused them into their bodies. Master, the sacred body of chaos and the sacred body of 5 elements are top-notch talents even in the divine realm. They have a great chance of becoming a sage. These 2 guys are just superficial. Zhu Ganglai was also a little disappointed. He had been eager to see if he could devour their bloodline talents, but now it seemed that he had been overthinking it. In the end, these 2 unlucky fellows lost all their value and were killed by Zhu Ganglai. Most of the experts of the War God Temple had died in this battle. The others had probably fled long ago. Moreover, according to the information Ling Xiao had obtained, the core of the War God Temple was not in the War God world at all. Instead, it was in outer space. Ling Xiao gave up on finding trouble with the War God Temple. Instead, he prepared to make a trip to the 1,000 Coffin Mountain. Whoosh! Ling Xiao rode the old goat while Jin Sei rode the white dragon horse. They left the Longevity Gate and turned into a ray of light heading towards the myriad coffins mountain with extreme speed. Zhu Ganglai and Zhu Biao were left behind to teach the disciples of the Longevity Gate. Ling Xiao had already completely refined the God's Stone and opened a fixed passage from the world of longevity to the 8 Desolates region. Therefore, Ling Xiao could enter the world of longevity with just a thought. After Ling Zhao's physical body became a god, he realized that the god's stone was indeed a supreme divine tool. It could even be used to suppress the fate of the longevity gate. With the god's stone, even gods could forget about attacking the world of longevity. With the god's stone, one could even use the god's stone to suppress gods. The Thousand Coffin Mountain was one of the 8 great forbidden grounds of the war god continent. Legend had it that it contained an endless amount of life and death qi. It formed its own world law and contained countless ancient divine coffins. Many ancient experts buried themselves in the Thousand Coffin Mountain before they died, hoping that they could be reborn one day. The Shuren king had told Ling Zhao before that Supreme Shura used the time wood as a coffin to bury himself in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Now, Ling Zhao hoped to find the other 6 disciples as well as Supreme Shura in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. The old goat and white dragon horse were at loggerheads before, even fighting. But now, they were like brothers. As they flew towards the Thousand Coffin Mountain, they chatted with each other with shifty eyes. Ling Zhao was speechless. Although the white dragon horse was a little arrogant before, it was still relatively innocent. But now, it seemed like it was being led astray by the old goat. Ling Zhao and Jin Se flew through the clouds. The mountains and rivers below were majestic and incomparably vast. It was extremely beautiful. Ling Zhao and Jin Se were very relaxed and enjoyed this kind of time. Brother Ling Zhao, 10,000 years ago, Lin Feng and the others were heavily injured. The Path Understanding Tree was also destroyed in that battle. I used the Path Understanding Tree as a coffin and buried the 7 of them in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Logically speaking, the 7 of them should still be in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. But since Sword 1 came out, I'm afraid something happened to Lin Feng and the others. A trace of worry appeared in Jin Se's eyes as she spoke softly. Ling Zhao held Jin Se's hand and smiled. Don't worry. Since Sword 1 is fine, I believe Lin Feng and the others should be fine too. We'll know when we reach the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Jin Se nodded. Brother Ling Zhao, the Thousand Coffin Mountain is one of the 8 great forbidden grounds. It has been passed down since ancient times, and there are many secrets within. 10,000 years ago, I met a godly being who called himself the Death Race and fought with him. The Death Race is extremely strong, so you must be careful. Death Race? There's a godly being in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. The Thousand Coffin Mountain was incomparably mysterious. Very few creatures dared to step into the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Even the strongest experts would only bury themselves in the Thousand Coffin Mountain after they died. However, very few people were clear about the situation within the Thousand Coffin Mountain. The Thousand Coffin Mountain contains a dense aura of life and death, and the aura of death accounts for more than 99% of it. As the saying goes, extreme yin gives birth to yang. I'm guessing that the Death Race are ancient experts who were buried in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. For some reason, they awakened a new consciousness, forming a new race. Jin Se slowly voiced out her conjecture. If that's the case, then I really want to see the experts of the Death Race. Perhaps I can learn some news about the divine realm from them. Ling Zhao said with a smile. Even if an ancient godly being were to awaken, Ling Zhao was not afraid at all. Chapter 1108. They soon arrived at the Thousand Coffin Mountain. This was a region shrouded in black mist. Towering mountains rose from the ground, but they were all shrouded in a black mist that contained a dense aura of death. One could faintly see that there were many huge coffins in the area covered by the black fog, and they gave off an ancient and mysterious aura. The Thousand Coffin Mountain was incomparably mysterious among the 8 forbidden grounds. It was similar to the God Burial Cave, but not exactly the same. If the God Burial Cave was an ancient battlefield of gods and demons, then the Thousand Coffin Mountain could be said to be a part of hell. Some people even believed that if they buried themselves in the Thousand Coffin Mountain, they could reincarnate. The Thousand Coffin Mountain was incomparably dangerous. Even Supreme Being experts didn't dare to carelessly enter because the pure aura of death would steal away all life. Experts below the Supreme Being realm would probably turn into a pile of bones in an instant. Supreme Being experts might be able to resist the aura of death, but they wouldn't carelessly enter. The surroundings were incomparably silent. The sound of the wind, the water, and the roars of the demonic beasts had all disappeared. A strange aura spread out, causing the old goat and white dragon horse to stop talking. They pricked up their ears with vigilance in their eyes. Ling Xiao originally planned to let Jin Se recuperate in the longevity sect, but Jin Se insisted on coming with him. Ling Xiao thought about it and agreed. Although Jin Se didn't have any cultivation and was just a weak girl, with Ling Xiao around, he naturally wouldn't let anyone harm her. Ling Xiao and Jin Se entered the Thousand Coffin Mountain together. They retracted their auras and slowly advanced forward. The mountains were shrouded in black mist, which made them look very strange. Some of the mountains were filled with ancient coffins. Some of them were even broken apart, revealing the skeletons within. However, some of the mountains had extremely powerful auras. Only one coffin floated in the air as if it was its territory, occupying an entire mountain. Ling Xiao could tell that the coffins that could occupy an entire mountain were all made from ancient divine items. There were divine wood of time, divine peach wood, divine wood of space, green bamboo wood that was 1,000,000 years old, golden lightning wood. However, the coffins made of divine objects had existed for an unknown number of years. At this moment, they were all enveloped in a layer of deathly aura. The fluctuations of divinity had dissipated, leaving behind only a gloomy deathly aura. Those coffins were all perfectly preserved. Ling Xiao could even feel a powerful aura coming from them. It was neither dead nor alive. It was very mysterious. Ling Xiao, could it be that after those coffins are opened, the ancient gods will really come back to life? The old goat looked at the surrounding mountains in astonishment. It was also the first time he and the white dragon horse had come to the Thousand Coffin Mountain, so they were very curious about everything around them. The mysterious aura and undulations of the Thousand Coffin Mountain made them feel very uncomfortable. This place was like hell. Only dead things could exist here, and living things would be suppressed by the laws of the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Although the old goat and the white dragon horse could resist the attack of the death aura, they still felt very uncomfortable. You can try. Ling Xiao glanced at the eager old goat and white dragon horse with a faint smile on his face. However, the two of them gave up after thinking about it. Who knew what would jump out of the coffins? If something that they couldn't deal with really came out, then they would lose a lot of face. They're just a bunch of dead things. There's no need to care. Let's go find nephew Lin Feng and the rest. The old goat waved his hand and said nonchalantly. Ling Xiao and Jin Se both smiled faintly and continued forward. Brother Ling Xiao, legend has it that there are 10,000 mountains in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Every mountain has a different aura of life and death. 10,000 years ago, under the guidance of a Feng Shui family, I buried Lin Feng and the rest at the place where the Yin Dragon gathered. It's an excellent Feng Shui treasure ground. The aura of life and death has reached a perfect balance. Not only can it seal their injuries, it can also nourish their bodies. It's in that mountain. Jin Se pointed at a mountain in front of them. There were dragons and tigers crouching there. The mountains were like giant dragons sitting on the ground. Finally, they gathered at the most central mountain. That mountain was like a huge gate. It was square and very strange, but it contained some kind of mysterious power. That mountain looked very strange. The black aura of death and the white aura of life intertwined with each other, forming a perfect balance. Let's go. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of anticipation as he held Jin Se's hand and flew towards the mountain. Ling Xiao could feel that there were 36 dragon-shaped mountains on both sides of the mountain. They were like yin dragons gathering together, exuding a majestic aura. Moreover, the aura of death permeated the air. Just as Ling Xiao and Jin Se came into contact with this mountain, the black aura of death actually began to churn violently. Rumble. Like a black thunderbolt exploding, a black divine light flashed in the void. From the mountains on both sides, dozens of green-faced, fanged zombies rushed out. Their bodies were pitch black, and they were dressed in ancient clothing. Every one of them exuded an aura of death. Their eyes were blood red and filled with cold killing intent. The aura of these zombies was not much weaker than an ordinary supreme being, but they did not have the slightest bit of intelligence. What surprised Ling Xiao was that there was a pale-faced young man in a black robe, carrying an ancient sword on his back. This young man was very handsome, and his skin exuded a jade-like luster. If it weren't for the aura of death surrounding his body and the lack of any signs of life, he would be no different from a human. His eyes were filled with a cold light as he stared at Ling Xiao and Jin Se. A cold voice came from his mouth. "Who are you? How dare you trespass into the sacred land of the Deathkin? Since you're here, leave your lives behind." The black-robed young man's voice was emotionless. However, he was different from the zombies around him. He actually had intelligence. His aura was not much weaker than a titled supreme being, and he exuded a cold arrogance. "A member of the Deathkin?" Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, revealing a trace of surprise. It was just as Jin Se said. There really were Deathkin powerhouses in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. In his previous life, Ling Xiao knew that the Thousand Coffin Mountain was very mysterious. There were even powerful zombies that appeared, but they did not have the slightest bit of intelligence. Today was the first time he saw a Deathkin powerhouse with intelligence. "Kid, you're very arrogant. What sacred land of the Deathkin? A bunch of dead people dare to call themselves the Deathkin? Since you're not completely dead, I don't mind killing you again." Chapter 1109. My second brother is right. If you know what's good for you, move aside obediently. Otherwise, we'll flatten this bullshit Thousand Coffin Mountain. The white dragon horse glared at the black-robed young man with disdain. However, the white dragon horse had been tricked by the old goat into calling him second brother. Ling Xiao was speechless. The black-robed young man's eyes flashed with murderous intent when he heard the old goat and the white dragon horse. He said coldly, "You're courting death. Go. Kill these 3 bastards and bring that woman back." Boom. As the black-robed young man pointed at Ling Xiao, the white dragon horse, and the old goat, the dozen green-faced, ferocious-looking zombies pounced on Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes turned cold. He didn't expect the black-robed young man to have designs on Jin Se. He said coldly, "Kill these zombies. Capture this guy alive." "All right." The old goat and the white dragon horse laughed coldly when they heard Ling Xiao's words. Their eyes were filled with malicious intent. Boom. The old goat used the sky-devouring secret skill and the surrounding aura of death gathered around him. Instantly, a blazing sky-devouring fire rose from his body and enveloped the zombies. The sky-devouring fire was a fire of extreme yang. It was the perfect counter to these zombies. Moreover, the old goat's cultivation was much higher than theirs. It was as easy as cutting vegetables. These zombies were strong and invulnerable. They didn't fear death. However, under the burning of the sky-devouring fire, they roared and were quickly reduced to ashes. "Ugly monsters, have a taste of my Pegasus meteor fist." The white dragon horse also let out a strange cry. It turned into a flash of white lightning and used its extreme speed to kick the zombies. In front of the white dragon horse's extreme speed, the zombies were like turtles. They were indescribably slow. Bang! Although the zombies were invulnerable, the Pegasus meteor fist of the white dragon horse could even kill a titled supreme being. Even a supreme true dragon was dizzy from the Pegasus meteor fist's kick. How could these zombies withstand it? It was as if the white dragon horse was smashing a watermelon. The heads of the zombies exploded as they were all killed by the white dragon horse. Almost in the blink of an eye, the zombies around the black-robed youth were all killed. The black-robed young man was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that those two fellows who looked like human mounts would be so cruel, instantly leaving him all alone. Bastards, I'm going to kill you. By the time the black-robed youth reacted, all the zombies had been killed. The old goat and the white dragon horse were staring at the black-robed youth with malicious intent. The black-robed young man was enraged. The deathly aura around him rose. The black divine light was like lightning. It contained a pure destructive aura. He pulled out an ancient sword from his back. Instantly, a black sword aura rose. The light was dazzling, like a long black river. It covered the sky and pressed down on the old goat and the white dragon horse. This is the ancient Mizar sword. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he finally recognized the ancient sword in the black-robed youth's hand. It was actually the sun-opening ancient sword that he had bestowed upon his sixth disciple, Lu Guqin. The sun-opening ancient sword had fallen into the black-robed youth's hand. It seemed that he must know the whereabouts of Lu Guqin and the rest. Boom! A light flashed in the old goat's hand. The demon saint's scepter contained an unparalleled divine power. It suddenly collided with the sun-opening ancient sword in the black-robed youth's hand, causing a bright light to shine. The black-robed young man was instantly sent flying by the unparalleled divine power. However, before he could stabilize himself, the wretched white dragon horse appeared behind him and smashed down with its hooves. Suddenly, the black-robed young man felt dizzy and his vision darkened. He felt as if his head was about to explode. Bastard, who told you to be arrogant and show off? The white dragon horse had succeeded in its attack. How could it stop now? The cooperation between it and the old goat was superb. Immediately, a few more Pegasus meteor fists were smashed. The black-robed youth's eyes rolled back and he fainted. Bring him along. Let's go up that mountain and have a look. Ling Xiao couldn't be bothered to interrogate the black-robed youth. He directly gave the order and flew up the mountain with Jin Se. This guy's identity in the Death Kin was probably not simple. He might have already attracted the attention of those old monsters. If such a young guy had the cultivation of a titled supreme, those old monsters of the Death Kin must be powerhouses above the god level. Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of fighting with the Deathkin. However, he still wanted to take a look at the place that Jin Se mentioned to see what was going on. Whoosh! Ling Xiao and Jin Se quickly arrived at the top of the mountain. Black and white qi filled the air, exuding an extremely mysterious aura. The flowers and trees here seemed to be filled with the aura of life and death. Brother Ling Xiao, the coffin of the path understanding tree should be in that cave. Jin Se looked around and then her eyes lit up. She pointed at a cave halfway up the mountain and said. That cave spewed out black and white qi. Bright light filled the air and exuded a mysterious phenomenon. Ling Xiao could feel that the power of life and death had reached a very mysterious balance there. The power of life and death that spewed out of the cave was not inferior to the power of life and death of the Netherworld's sacred river. It was incomparably pure. Ling Xiao even suspected that this cave might lead to the Netherworld's sacred river. Ling Xiao and Jin Se walked into the cave. The cave was incomparably spacious. After walking a few thousand feet, they saw a huge cave. It was like a yin-yang taiji diagram, containing a rich aura of life and death. Brother Ling Xiao, the coffin that buried Lin Feng and the others is indeed gone. Jin Se looked at a stone platform in the middle of the cave with a sharp glint in her eyes. 10,000 years ago, Jin Southeast found this place and buried Lin Feng's group in a coffin, placing them here. In the Thousand Coffin Mountain, as long as the coffin was in place, it would merge with the aura of life and death and the laws of heaven and earth. Almost no one dared to touch the coffin in the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Otherwise, something ominous would happen. That was why Jin Se was assured to leave the coffin here. This was also what the feng shui families called the best place in feng shui. It could nourish the soul, refine the body, maintain life, and even bring the dead back to life. But today, as Jin Se had predicted, the coffin had disappeared. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed coldly. If the coffin disappeared, it was very likely that it had something to do with the Deathkin. He stared at the unconscious black-robed youth and said coldly, "Wake him up." "Okay." Chapter 11:10. The black-robed youth slowly woke up. Seeing the goat and horse faces in front of him, he immediately flew into a rage. He wanted to resist, but with a clang, a large machete was placed on his neck. The machete emitted a sharp light. "Kid, you better behave yourself. Otherwise, I'll make sure you can't even be a dead man." The white dragon horse had gotten the machete from God knows where and looked like a ruffian. He stared at the black-robed youth and said proudly. Although the black-robed youth was arrogant, he knew that he was now a prisoner. He ignored the white dragon horse and old goat and stared at Ling Xiao. "Who are you?" "The Thousand Coffin Mountain is the territory of the undead clan. If you dare to hurt me, all of you will die here. I'll only ask you one question. If your answer satisfies me, I don't mind sparing your life. Where did the coffin go?" Ling Xiao stared at the black-robed youth and said coldly. "The coffin here." "You? Who are you people? How did you know there was a coffin here?" The black-robed youth's expression changed as he stared at Ling Xiao. "This is a coffin. I placed it here 10,000 years ago. If I'm not wrong, it's probably in the hands of the undead clan, right?" Jin Sei's gaze was calm, but it seemed to have the power to see through people's hearts. The black-robed youth could not help but tremble. "You left it here. You're the woman who injured grandfather 10,000 years ago. You're still alive." The black-robed youth's eyes revealed a trace of disbelief. He once heard from his grandfather that a human woman entered the Thousand Coffin Mountain 10,000 years ago and wanted to bury a coffin. In the end, she fought with his grandfather and even injured him. Now, 10,000 years had passed. That human woman was not dead and had come here again. The black-robed youth knew that something big was about to happen. However, looking at the murderous gazes of Ling Xiao and the rest, he knew that if he did not say anything, he would not be able to survive today. That coffin is indeed in the hands of the undead clan. If you let me go, I can go back and beg grandfather to return that coffin to you. The black-robed youth rolled his eyes and said slowly. Bang! Without warning, the white dragon horse kicked the black-robed young man's head again, causing him to see stars. His head turned black, and he almost fainted. "Kid, are you messing with us? Do you really think we're stupid if we let you go? You dare to play mind games with me? Do you believe that I will chop you to death?" The white dragon horse glared at the black-robed youth with its big eyes. The black-robed youth hated the old goat and the white dragon horse to death. He gritted his teeth and wished he could tear these two bastards into pieces. However, he still forced a smile and said, "My grandfather is the third elder of the Deathkin. Don't worry, as long as I go back and beg my grandfather, he will definitely return that coffin to you. No need, your grandfather should be here already." Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he sensed several powerful auras coming from the depths of the myriad coffins mountain, appearing above the mountain. What bullshit death clan? They're just a bunch of living dead who have been tainted by the chi of life and death. Ling Xiao, let's go out and kill them all, then save Lin Feng and the rest. The old goat's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he sneered. That powerful aura contained a thick chi of death without any signs of life. Moreover, it exuded a cold murderous intent and rage. It should be the Deathkin. Let's go. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he walked out of the cave with Jin Sei. Outside the cave, more than 10 powerful figures appeared. The leader was an old man in a black robe. His face was old, and his eyes were deep and cold. He wore an ancient robe that looked a little shabby, as if it was the robe of some sect. He exuded a vast and terrifying aura, and his murderous intent locked onto Ling Xiao and the rest. The black-robed old man was a godly spirit realm expert. He exuded a powerful aura and exuded a powerful law fluctuation, as if the surrounding void was trembling slightly. The figures behind him were all zombies with green faces and fangs, but they were much stronger than the zombies that the black-robed youth had brought. "It's you." The black-robed old man saw Jin Se beside Ling Xiao at a glance, and his eyes were filled with shock. The black-robed old man was the black-robed youth's grandfather, the third elder of the Deathkin. He was the Deathkin expert that was injured by Jin Se 10,000 years ago. He did not expect that Jin Se would come here again after 10,000 years. As if he thought of something, the black-robed old man's eyes turned cold. "Let go of my grandson, and I'll let you leave." The black-robed old man stared at Jin Se and Ling Xiao coldly. "You know why we're here. Hand over the coffin that I left here, and we'll spare his life. Otherwise, you'll all die." Jin Se glanced at the black-robed old man and said calmly as if she was stating a fact. "Arrogant." The black-robed old man's eyes darkened instantly, and he sneered, "This is the Deathkin. You have no right to negotiate. Not to mention that I've never seen your coffin. Even if I did, everything in this 1,000-coffin mountain belongs to the Deathkin. Old thing, you're really shameless. Your grandson admitted that you took the coffin, and you're still lying through your teeth. Do you believe that I'll chop your grandson to death?" The white dragon horse glanced at the black-robed old man, and its machete left a bloody mark on the black-robed youth's neck. "Stop." The black-robed old man's veins were bulging, and his eyes flashed with a glint. He wanted nothing more than to kill the white dragon horse and Ling Xiao, but the black-robed youth was in their hands, and he was hesitant. "Grandpa, save me." The black-robed youth saw the black-robed old man, and his eyes were filled with agitation, and he began to shout for help. The black-robed old man stared at Ling Xiao and Jin Se, and said, "Let go of my grandson. Don't forget, this is the 1,000-coffin mountain, the territory of the Deathkin. If you hurt him, all of you will die. As for the coffin you mentioned, it is indeed in the Deathkin, but I can't make the decision." The black-robed old man finally compromised. It seemed that this grandson of his held a high position in his heart. Ling Xiao was also a little surprised. These Deathkin were like the living dead, and it was difficult for them to leave the 1,000-coffin mountain. They relied on the dense death energy to survive, and it was a very strange state. Ling Xiao did not expect them to have the same intelligence as humans, and even emotions. "Then what's the point of talking? I'll let you make the decision." Chapter 11:11. All right. Just you wait. Although the black-robed old man's expression was ugly, he still did as he was told for the sake of his grandson's life. He took out an incense stick and lit it up. Smoke curled up and emitted a strange fluctuation. Then, the void began to tremble. Rumble. Black death aura surged and the void in all directions shook violently. An ancient and mysterious fluctuation spread out. Crack. The void instantly shattered, and a huge black coffin appeared out of thin air, exuding an incomparably vast divine might. Moreover, there were several black-robed old men around it, and behind them were over 100 green-faced, ferocious-looking zombies. Those black-robed old men were the same as the black-robed old man in front of him. They were all divine spirit realm experts. What caught Ling Xiao's attention the most was the black coffin. The aura emitted from the black coffin made Ling Xiao feel a sense of danger. Buzz. The black coffin slowly opened and an old man in a Taoist robe and holding a horsetail whisk sat up. He looked like a baby and had a sage-like demeanor. He wore a feathered crown and looked very pale. When he opened his eyes, it was as if the gates of hell had opened. They contained a mysterious light that could steal one's soul, causing people to feel as if they were about to unconsciously fall into them. Mo Tong, why did you alarm the patriarch with the soul-luring incense? The old man in a Taoist robe was the patriarch of the Deathkin. Beside him, a black-robed old man asked expressionlessly. Mo Tong quickly bowed to the old man in a Taoist robe in the black coffin. He smiled bitterly and said, "Patriarch, I had no choice. These two humans forced my grandson, Mo Tianlin, to hand over the coffin that was left here 10,000 years ago. I had no choice but to ask the patriarch to come out. The coffin here. Mo Tong's words caused many of the Deathkin elders' expressions to change. They revealed a cold killing intent. Even the patriarch, Mo Hun's eyes flashed sharply. Presumptuous. Everything in this 1,000-coffin mountain belongs to the Deathkin. I'd like to see who dares to steal from the Deathkin. So what if the black coffin was left behind 10,000 years ago? It already belongs to the Deathkin now. They can't be so presumptuous here. Patriarch, this person trespassed into the Deathkin's sacred ground. He deserves to die. Kill them. The elders of the Deathkin were filled with killing intent. Their eyes were filled with cold sharpness as they stared at Ling Xiao and the others. They even surrounded Ling Xiao and the others, as if they were going to attack Ling Xiao and the others at any moment. The patriarch of the death race, Mo Hun, glanced indifferently at Ling Xiao and Jin Se. The coffins here already belong to the death race. I can spare your lives today. Let go of Tianlin and leave quickly. The old goat and the white dragon horse were so angry that they laughed. They had clearly admitted that the coffins were taken by them, yet they still shamelessly claimed that everything in the 1,000 Coffins mountain belonged to them. They even pretended that Fang Lingxiao and the others had left. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen such a shameless person. You bunch of old farts, I'll tell you one more time. Hand over the coffin, or I'll let you Deathkin die again. However, if he dies this time, his soul will be completely destroyed and he will never be able to come back to life again. The old goat sneered and pointed at the Deathkins. Ling Xiao's gaze was cold. Although he did not say anything, the old goat's words were what he meant. The so-called Deathkin should be the corpses of those ancient powerhouses. After being soaked in the 1,000 Coffins mountain for countless years, new intelligence was born in the corpses, and these guys formed a new race. Although these guys were very strong and had inherited the powerful strength of those corpses, they were already new living beings. Ling Xiao did not expect them to be so arrogant as to say that everything in the 1,000 Coffins mountain belonged to them. Ling Xiao also wanted to teach these arrogant guys a lesson. Looks like you're not willing to let Tianlin go. If that's the case, then all of you can go to hell. Mo Tong, kill them. Patriarch Mo Hun said indifferently. There was no emotion in his eyes. He looked at Ling Xiao and the others as though they were ants that he could crush with a wave of his hand. Yes. Mo Tong and the other 3 black-robed elders walked out and surrounded Ling Xiao and the others. Their bodies emitted a powerful aura. Although Mo Tong's expression was ugly and he was worried about his grandson's life, he could only obey the patriarch's order. Moreover, he believed that if the 4 of them attacked at the same time, they might be able to save Mo Tianlin at lightning speed. You're courting death. Ling Xiao's expression also turned cold. This group of old Deathkins, did they really think that they could do whatever they wanted just because they were deities? Unfortunately, the current war god's world was no longer what they imagined. Dragon Horse, protect Jin Se. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Then, he grabbed Mo Tianlin's neck with one hand and walked toward the 4 deities. Before Ling Xiao's physical body became a deity, he could already kill a deity, let alone now. The old goat and the white dragon horse stood guard beside Jin Se. There was a hint of mockery in their eyes. These shameless things were finally going to kick an iron plate. What are you doing? Let go of Tianlin. When Mo Tong saw Ling Xiao's cold gaze, his entire body shuddered. He suddenly had a bad premonition, and he hurriedly shouted out loud. Boom! In Ling Xiao's palm, the sky-devouring fire rose instantly. It was blazing hot and contained the power of Yang. It directly enveloped Mo Tianlin. Ah! Grandfather, save me! Mo Tianlin's scream was heard. It was like a ghost wailing and a wolf howling, making an incomparably miserable sound. Speaking of the Deathkin, they all relied on the rich death energy to live a second life. Fire and thunder, these extreme yang and unyielding powers, were the bane of their existence. Mo Tianlin was enveloped by the sky-devouring fire. It was like adding oil to the fire and instantly began to burn fiercely. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. Mo Tong's eyes instantly turned red. His whole body trembled. His eyes were filled with monstrous rage and killing intent. He flew across the sky and blasted a punch toward Ling Xiao. Rumble. The black divine light was dazzling. This punch contained an extremely sinister power, as if it wanted to completely destroy a person's vitality and primordial spirit. Mo Tong's deity realm power completely erupted. You're courting death. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with killing intent. He did not dodge and directly blasted a punch toward Mo Tong. Boom! The golden glow was dazzling. The divine light around Ling Xiao's body exploded, dispersing the black death qi that filled the sky. The golden fist was incomparably ferocious, containing a monstrous power. At this moment, Ling Xiao's cultivation aura had also completely erupted. What? Mo Tong's body trembled. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He did not expect Ling Xiao to be a deity. Moreover, this punch contained a power that made him feel incomparably fearful. Kacha! The two fists collided. Mo Tong's arm was instantly blasted away by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's punch did not lose its momentum. Its speed was extremely fast and suddenly blasted on Mo Tong's chest. Mo Tong's chest actually cracked like a mirror and spread in all directions. Then, with a loud bang, it exploded into pieces. The insufferably arrogant Deathkin Elder, a deity expert, was killed by Ling Xiao with a punch. Chapter 11-12. Boom! Ling Xiao was surrounded by a golden glow, exuding a majestic fluctuation of divinity. His vitality surged and turned into the shape of a dragon, coiling around him. It was vivid and lifelike, making Ling Xiao look like a peerless dragon god. His gaze was calm and indifferent. Almost in an instant, he killed Mo Tong with one punch. Before the other three Deathkin elders could react, Mo Tong's body was already gone. Their eyes were filled with disbelief, and they instantly retreated. Their eyes were full of vigilance as they stared at Ling Xiao. How is this possible? The three Deathkin elders were extremely shocked. Mo Tong was considered a powerhouse among the Deathkin. How could a deity be killed just like that? Mo Tong's strength was similar to theirs. If Ling Xiao could kill Mo Tong, did that mean that Ling Xiao could easily kill them? They could feel that Ling Xiao was exuding a powerful divine aura. He was clearly a deity powerhouse. However, for millions of years, the gate of the divine realm had been closed. No one in the mortal world should have been able to become a deity. How could this guy in front of them be a deity? Becoming a deity physically? You actually took this path. The Deathkin clan leader, Mo Hun, originally looked indifferent. However, after Ling Xiao killed Mo Tong with one punch, he could no longer remain calm. His eyes were filled with horror. When he saw Ling Xiao's terrifying physical body, he seemed to have thought of something, and his voice trembled a little. Becoming a deity physically could be said to be invincible in the same realm. This realm in the ancient legends had actually appeared in front of them. Moreover, from the looks of it, Ling Xiao should only be in his 20s. To have such a terrifying cultivation at such a young age simply subverted Mo Hun's understanding. It's your turn. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply, and he charged toward the other three Deathkin powerhouses. Boom! His body was crystalline, translucent, and dazzling as it emanated powerful fluctuations of divinity. Moreover, it seemed to be suffused with a layer of mysterious light that made him invincible and invincible. A casual punch of his practically possessed the might of his full force strike from before he'd broken through. The golden fist print traversed the void and shrouded the three Deathkin elders. It contained a power that could crush everything. Stop! Mo Hun's expression changed. His eyes were filled with gloom and anger as he slammed his palm down at Ling Xiao. After knowing that Ling Xiao's body had become a god, he knew that the three Deathkin elders were definitely no match for Ling Xiao. If he still did not make a move, they would probably all die at Ling Xiao's hands. Rumble. But how could Ling Xiao stop just because of Mo Hun's words? This group of Deathkin was very arrogant and conceited. If he didn't beat them into submission, they would probably not hand over the coffin. Ling Xiao's fist came crashing down with extreme speed. The three Deathkin elders' faces changed drastically. They gritted their teeth and unleashed powerful attacks in an attempt to block Ling Xiao's punch. Three black divine lights soared into the sky. They were a sword ray, a saber aura, and a staff shadow. They respectively represented the strongest attacks of the three Deathkin elders. Their momentum was vast and terrifying, and they contained the power to crush everything. Crack! However, when the golden fist landed, its aura was vigorous and boundless, crushing everything in its path. The three beams of black divine light instantly shattered like paper. Pfft! Ling Xiao's punch did not lose its momentum and slammed into the three Deathkin elders. As if struck by lightning, they spat out a mouthful of blood. Their auras instantly became extremely weak. The three divine spirit realm masters were so weak that they could not even withstand a single blow. At the same time, Mo Hun's eyes were blazing with murderous intent. He saw that Ling Xiao did not care about his attack at all and wanted to suppress the three Deathkin elders. Suddenly, the black light in his palm became even more blazing. It was as if there was a ghostly wailing sound as it slammed toward Ling Xiao's back. This palm strike seemed to be silent, but it contained an extremely terrifying power. A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, revealing a hint of mockery. He did not dodge and took Mo Hun's palm head-on. Rumble. Mo Hun's palm landed on Ling Xiao's back. Suddenly, a bright light burst out like a thunderbolt. A bright golden light rose from Ling Xiao's body, and the power contained in Mo Hun's palm began to melt like snow. Although it still landed on Ling Xiao's body in the end, at least 80% of the power was dissolved. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. Ling Xiao's entire body trembled violently, and then his body was knocked back more than a dozen steps before he could stabilize his figure. But Mo Hun's expression had already become incomparably ugly. Although the palm knocked Ling Xiao back more than a dozen steps, he could feel that the palm did not injure Ling Xiao at all. It only made him retreat. Ling Xiao's physical body seemed to contain a mysterious power that could dissolve all divine abilities and martial arts. It was almost comparable to the legendary invulnerability. Could it be that this physical body becoming a god was really so freakish? Mo Hun's heart also became incomparably solemn in an instant. As expected of the Deathkin clan's patriarch, your strength is indeed very strong. If I didn't guess wrongly, your current strength has probably already reached the peak of the divine spirit realm, right? Ling Xiao turned around, his eyes revealing a hint of sharpness. He also deliberately did not dodge just now because he wanted to see just how powerful his physical body was now. The result also surprised him very much. Even if Mo Hun did not use his full strength in that palm, it was at least 80 to 90% of his power. In the end, it did not hurt Ling Xiao. Physical body becoming a god, it was indeed terrifying to the extreme. Who exactly are you? Mo Hun stared at Ling Xiao and asked, finally beginning to face Ling Xiao seriously. Changsun sect, Ling Xiao. The coffin that you took away has 7 of my disciples buried in it. As long as you hand it over, I can spare your life. Otherwise, the Deathkin can really all go to hell. Ling Xiao said indifferently. These Deathkin had regained their intelligence from the corpses of ancient powerhouses. Although they were hiding in the Thousand Coffin Mountain, they might have some connection with those ancient powerhouses. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Ling Xiao did not want to fall out with the Deathkin. But if they really refused a toast only to drink a forfeit, then they could not blame him. Changsun sect's Ling Xiao. You're that Ling Xiao who killed the War God Temple's War God, known as the #1 person in the world. The sky-devouring supreme from 10,000 years ago is indeed extraordinary. Sorry for the disrespect. Mo Hun's eyes flashed as he looked at Ling Xiao somewhat solemnly and said, I didn't expect that your death kin would also pay attention to the outside world situation. I dare not say that I'm the number one person in the world, but hand it over. Ling Xiao said indifferently. We can hand over that coffin to you, but you have to give me 7 days to prepare. Chapter 11-13. He could sense that Ling Xiao was extremely powerful. Even if he went all out, he might not be able to hold Ling Xiao back. It was not a good thing to make such a powerful enemy out of nowhere. 7 days? Why 7 days? If the coffin is in your hands, hand it over now. Ling Xiao frowned. He felt that there was something fishy in Mo Hun's words and immediately sneered. You don't know. That coffin is made of the divine wood of enlightenment and has already merged with the life and death chi of the 1,000 Coffin Mountain. The 7 people in the coffin are connected. If the coffin is opened rashly, I'm afraid it will harm their lives. I need 7 days to sever the connection between them and the laws of the 1,000 Coffin Mountain. This is for their own good. Mo Hun sighed softly and said slowly. Is that true? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply as he looked at Mo Hun indifferently. Really? I only need 7 days. After 7 days, I will hand them over to you. Mo Hun said with certainty. Since that's the case, then let me see them first. As long as I can confirm that they are fine, what's the harm in giving you 7 days? Ling Xiao said indifferently with a cold smirk on his face. Fellow Taoist Ling, the coffin can't be opened and you can't see them. You only need to wait for 7 days. Why are you in such a hurry? Mo Hun sighed softly. Seeing Mo Hun shirking, the old goat sneered and said, Old man, you're so evasive. I think you have a ghost in your heart, right? If you don't have a ghost, why do you insist on making us wait for 7 days? That's right, my second brother is right. Old man, hurry up and hand it over. Otherwise, my big brother will annihilate your undead race. The white dragon horse held a blade of grass in its mouth and looked at Mo Hun from the corner of its eyes. Ling Xiao also felt that there was something fishy about the 7 days mentioned by Mo Hun. Could it be that these undead race fellows wanted to take advantage of these 7 days to escape? At this moment, an old voice sounded in the void. Ling Xiao, if you really give him 7 days, then those few beloved disciples of yours will probably turn into calabashes. Rumble. A black mist rose up from the void, and a bright light shone. An old man appeared in the void. He was wearing a shabby Taoist robe and looked dirty all over. He had shifty eyes and a goatee. However, his eyes were filled with a cold sneer. His entire body exuded an incomparably powerful aura. He was actually also a deity expert. You are Lu Tongtian. There was a look of disbelief in Ling Xiao's eyes. The old man in front of him was actually Lu Tongtian, whom he had met before. Lu Jianyi had been following this old man since the beginning. Seeing Lu Tongtian suddenly appear here today, Ling Xiao's eyes were also filled with confusion. Furthermore, he was able to sense that Lu Tongtian must have hidden his cultivation before. Now, Lu Tongtian's entire body was filled with the aura of life and death. He looked like a deathkin cultivator, but he did not seem to be completely dead. It was very strange. When Mo Hun saw Lu Tongtian, his expression changed drastically. He pointed at Lu Tongtian and roared, Lu Tongtian, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm talking nonsense. Hee, Mo Hun, don't think I don't know. You captured Ling Xiao's 7 disciples to refine the 7 demons' gourd, right? I know you have obtained the ancient demon seed. You used the essence, blood and primordial spirit of Ling Xiao's disciples to nourish the 7 demons' gourd. I'm afraid the 7 demons' gourd will be completely mature in another 7 days, right? At that time, with the 7 demons' gourd in hand, not to mention Ling Xiao, I'm afraid even a true god is no match for you. Lu Tongtian looked at Imo Hun and sneered. His eyes were full of ridicule. What? Ling Xiao's expression changed. His eyes instantly revealed an extremely cold killing intent. Although he did not know what the seven demons' gourd was, he heard what Lu Tongtian said. Mo Hun actually wanted to use Lin Feng and the others to refine a magic weapon. Ling Xiao's heart was suddenly filled with rage. Moreover, when he saw Mo Hun's expression, he knew that Lu Tongtian's words were probably true. Mo Hun, you deserve to die. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with killing intent as he charged towards Mo Hun. Damned Lu Tongtian, I'll definitely kill you. Ling Xiao, listen to me. I'll borrow your disciples to refine the seven demons' gourd, but only their primordial spirits and flesh. I won't harm their lives. Mo Hun still wanted to make a final explanation. He did not want to be enemies with Ling Xiao. Kill. Ling Xiao simply spat out a word. His fist imprint was unparalleled, containing a monstrous killing intent as it charged towards Mo Hun. Ling Xiao, do you really think I'm afraid of you? Mo Hun's eyes flashed sharply. Seeing that Ling Xiao was actually so aggressive, his heart was instantly filled with true anger. Rumble. Black death aura pervaded around him. The horsetail whisk in his hand fell towards Ling Xiao. It was like a heavenly river of 3,000 feet falling. Strands of whisk flew across the sky, containing an extremely tenacious power as if they were going to entangle Ling Xiao. Whoosh! Ling Xiao's figure flashed like a golden lightning. He was extremely fast and instantly dodged the power of the horsetail whisk. His fist imprint blasted towards Mo Hun. Mo Hun's eyes also flashed with killing intent. Ling Xiao's coercion had also stimulated the battle intent in his heart. He also threw out a punch. Bang! A muffled sound came from the void. Ling Xiao's figure did not change, but Mo Hun was sent flying by his punch. Death Soul Realm, kill for me. Black light rose around Mo Hun's body. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. He roared angrily, and the surrounding black death aura pervaded. The murderous aura rose as if it had formed a black sea. Dead spirits with terrifying auras walked out from the sea. Those dead spirits were shrouded in pure death aura, as if they were death gods from the netherworld. They suddenly pounced on Ling Xiao. Mo Hun's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. The Death Soul Realm was one of his most powerful techniques. The death spirits within it were endless, and each of them had the combat strength of a god. Even if he had to wear Ling Xiao down, he would wear him down. He knew that Ling Xiao's physical body was too terrifying and invulnerable. If he continued to fight, he was afraid that he would suffer a great loss. That was why he wanted to use the Death Soul Realm to deal with Ling Xiao. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with killing intent. He threw a punch across the sky and landed on the body of a death spirit. That death spirit suddenly trembled violently and suddenly exploded into a death aura, enveloping Ling Xiao. The death aura was like a corpse that had a strong devouring power. It especially liked the flesh and blood of living creatures, as if it wanted to devour Ling Xiao's flesh and blood completely. Boom! The heaven-devouring fire rose from Ling Xiao's body. It contained an extremely hot energy, and with a sweep of the qi of death, it was instantly incinerated. However, those death spirits seemed to be extremely intelligent. They easily escaped from the devouring fire and then condensed into the appearance of a death spirit in the void, pouncing towards Ling Xiao. Chapter 11:14. Boom! Ling Xiao's body glowed brightly, and a dazzling golden glow illuminated the surroundings. Dragon-shaped phantoms coiled around him, and a vast dragon's roar erupted. 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique, kill. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply, and a fist pressed down on Mo Hun. After his physical body became a god, Ling Xiao's ancestral dragon secret technique naturally cultivated to the divine dragon body. Although it was only the initial condensation and couldn't even be considered a small success, the power of the 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique was more than several times stronger. 49 seven-colored divine dragons intertwined with each other and enveloped Ling Xiao's fist. It was like a mountain of primordial divine dragons that suddenly pressed down. What? Feeling the dragon's might emanating from Ling Xiao's body, Mo Hun's eyes were also shocked, and his entire body trembled. The Death Soul domain trembled violently. Under Mo Hun's urging, hundreds of dead spirits condensed from the Black Sea and suddenly pounced toward Ling Xiao. Boom! Golden divine light shrouded down, and Ling Xiao's entire body seemed to have turned into a divine dragon. He was unparalleled, and the dead spirits were all turned into dust under his fist. The power of the 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique was incomparably terrifying. It almost pushed Ling Xiao's physical body to the limit at this moment, and suddenly blasted toward Mo Hun. This punch was incomparably fierce, and it completely locked onto Mo Hun, making it impossible for him to dodge even if he wanted to. Crack! The golden light in the void blazed, and Mo Hun gritted his teeth. His entire body actually exploded in the void in an instant, turning into a cloud of black mist. Ling Xiao's punch blasted into the void, and even affected a mountain in the distance, directly causing the mountain to tremble violently and almost collapse. Whoosh! The black mist spread and instantly condensed into Mo Hun's appearance, but his eyes were filled with an incomparably solemn expression. Ling Xiao, you've gone too far. Mo Hun's gaze was gloomy, and a murderous aura rose from his body. He stared fixedly at Ling Xiao, and the black light behind him spread. His entire body began to tremble violently. Behind him, the divine light condensed and actually turned into a black vortex in an instant. Its speed was extremely fast, and it suddenly pressed toward Ling Xiao's glabella. God-devouring technique. As Mo Hun shouted these two words, the black vortex contained a majestic Yuan spirit power that seemed to want to swallow all the Yuan spirit fluctuations. Mo Hun knew that Ling Xiao's physical body had become a god, but he had not entered the god realm. Therefore, his primordial spirit had not transformed, so he directly used the spirit-devouring technique that targeted the primordial spirit, wanting to directly devour Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. God-devouring technique? You overestimate yourself. Ling Xiao laughed coldly, his eyes filled with disdain. Boom! Dazzling light sprang up above his head as the King Heaven Devourer cauldron appeared, pulsing with mysterious fluctuations that surrounded Ling Xiao. The King Heaven Devourer cauldron shone with dazzling light, stirring up the Black Death energy in the area, creating a vortex that began devouring everything in the area. The God-devouring art and the Heaven Devourer cauldron were locked in a stalemate. With the King Heaven Devourer cauldron there, the God-devouring technique had no way of entering Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, much less devour his nascent divinity. Furthermore, Ling Xiao could sense that the power of the God-devourer cauldron was very similar to that of the King Heaven Devourer cauldron. In fact, it was almost as if he could see the Heaven-devouring God sea. So, it's an incomplete version of the Heaven Devourer's secret technique? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered as he realized that the God Devourer art was actually a part of the heaven-devouring God Sea. However, for some reason, it had fallen into Mo Hun's hands. Ruiyuanbo. After a moment of stalemate, the God Devourer art was at a disadvantage. After all, it was only an incomplete version of the technique, and was quickly destroyed by the King Heaven Devourer cauldron. What? Mo Hun blurted, a look of disbelief on his face. Not even the God Devourer art could do anything to Ling Xiao. Filled with the desire to flee, he blurred into motion and shot off into the distance. As for the 3 Deathkin elders and the numerous zombies, they dispersed in an uproar. Their speed was extremely fast, and they soon disappeared into the Black Death Chi. Ling Xiao, stop chasing me. Come with me. I know where the 7 Banes gourd is. Ling Xiao was just about to chase after Mo Hun when Lu Tongtian stopped him. I don't want the 7 Banes gourd. I only want my 7 disciples. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply as he stared at Lu Tongtian. I know. But the 7 Banes gourd is your 7 disciples. Hurry up and come with me. Otherwise, Mo Hun might do something desperate and destroy the gourd. That would be troublesome. Lu Tongtian said to Ling Xiao. Fine. I'll trust you this time. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Considering how Lu Tongtian had treated Lu Jiani with sincerity, he would trust him this time. Ling Xiao and Jin Se followed Lu Tongtian into the depths of the myriad coffins mountains. Lu Tongtian, what's your relationship with the death folk? You're not in cahoots with Mo Hun, are you? As they flew, the old goat looked suspiciously at Lu Tongtian. I have nothing to do with those bastards. But I know a lot about the death folk. Don't worry, they want nothing more than to kill me. How could I possibly be in cahoots with them? Lu Tongtian pursed his lips. Then how do you know so many things? What's the 7 Banes gourd? And why did they capture Lin Feng and the rest? The old goat asked like a curious baby. This was also the question in Ling Xiao's heart, so he also looked at Lu Tongtian. Lu Tongtian sighed softly and said, the myriad coffins mountains are very vast. This old man has also stayed in the myriad coffins mountains for countless years and had many conflicts with those bastards who call themselves the death folk. The path understanding tree is a rare natural spiritual root in the world. The path understanding tree was used to create a coffin and sealed 7 people inside at the same time. Moreover, it was placed in a place of balance between life and death. After 10,000 years of immersion in the life and death chi, the 7 people in the coffin could even be said to be brothers of the same blood. Their hearts were connected and their blood merged. Even if they weren't brothers of the same blood, they were closer than brothers of the same blood. Therefore, the flesh and blood of the 7 people contained a strange life and death origin that could nurture a supreme treasure like the 7 demons gourd. The 7 demons gourd was also a natural demonic seed. A single vine produced 7 gourds. These gourds were all natural treasures. If refined, they could be comparable to legendary sacred weapons. They contained the origin of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, yin, and yang. They formed their own space and could suck people in and turn them into pus. Its power was incomparably terrifying. A few decades ago, I accidentally discovered the 7 demons gourd planted by the death folk. I wanted to completely destroy it, but I didn't expect to alarm Mo Hun and the others. In the end, I could only snatch Lu Jiani away. Without Lu Jiani, their speed of nurturing the 7 demons gourd slowed down a lot. However, I suspect that they have other methods, so the 7 days was just an excuse. If the 7 demons gourd really matures after 7 days, then even if your body is a god, I'm afraid you won't be able to withstand the power of the 7 demons gourd. You'll be turned into a puddle of pus. Then it'll be over. Lu Tongtian roughly explained the information about the 7 demons gourd. Ling Xiao finally understood why he saw Lu Tongtian and Lu Jiani in Heaven's Choice City. Ling Xiao looked at Lu Tongtian and asked, why does it seem like Jiani has been reborn and can't remember his previous life? Chapter 11:15. Lu Tongtian sighed softly and said, some of the people sealed in the 1,000 Coffin Mountain will be tainted by the aura of death and become part of the death race. Some can even change their fate and be reborn. As for your 7 disciples, they have been shrouded by the aura of life and death for 10,000 years. In addition to the mysterious effects of the path understanding tree, it is no different from being reborn. It can be said that they have regained their youth. However, their true spirits and memories of their previous lives are now in the 7 evils gourd. If you want to completely recover their memories, you must obtain the 7 evils gourd. The death race really deserves to die. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Soon, they passed through countless mountain ranges and stopped in front of a mountain that was 10,000 feet tall. This mountain was pitch black and looked very strange. It looked like a giant coffin that was standing upright. It exuded a boundless aura of death. There were some strange plants on the mountain, as if they were born because of the aura of death. They looked gloomy and very strange. They planted the 7 evils gourd at the top of the mountain. There should be death race powerhouses guarding there. We should be careful. Lu Tongtian's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. Obviously, he attached great importance to the death race. How many powerhouses are there in the death race? What level is Mo Hun at? Ling Xiao asked. Lu Tongtian said, I'm not very clear about the exact number of powerhouses in the death race. However, I know one thing. Mo Hun is definitely not the strongest powerhouse in the death race. There should be an old monster in the death race who is even stronger than Mo Hun. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Even stronger than Mo Hun? Could it be a true God Realm powerhouse? With Ling Xiao's current strength, it was impossible for him to be a true God Realm powerhouse. There were actually 10 small levels between the Divine Spirit Realm and True God Realm, just like the first level Supreme Realm to the 10th level Supreme Realm. However, the division was not so detailed. It was simply divided into early stage, middle stage, late stage, and perfect stage. Ling Xiao was probably at the early stage of the Divine Spirit Realm. In this mortal realm without Divine Dao Law, the power of the Divine Realm was also weakened. However, Ling Xiao was probably only able to fight with a perfect stage Divine Spirit Realm powerhouse. As for a true God Realm powerhouse, he was definitely not a match. Unless he unleashed the power of the life-reversing technique and the Age of Time again, he would probably die if he did that. One would not be so lucky every time if they wanted to break and rebuild, to defy the heavens and change their fate. On top of the mountain, Ling Xiao saw the Deathkin powerhouse. There were actually 10 Divine Spirit Realm experts among the Deathkin experts guarding this place, and this included Mo Hun who had already arrived here in advance. In addition, Ling Xiao even felt a dangerous fluctuation. It was very likely that it was the hidden powerhouse of the Deathkin. On top of the mountain, Ling Xiao also saw the 7 evils gourd. It was a gourd vine with 7 colored light flowing around it. It looked dazzling and mysterious. There were 7 palm-sized gourds growing on it, each of which had a different color. Mysterious energy was flowing around them. Just as Lu Tongtian had said, it contained the power of yin-yang and 5 elements. The gourd vines were actually growing on the path understanding tree's coffin. One could vaguely see the vines absorbing and growing the blood-colored aura from the coffin. Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly turned red. In that coffin, there should be the other 6 disciples besides Lu Jianyi. These Deathkin people really deserved to die. They actually dared to use their flesh and blood to grow the 7 evils gourd. Who is it? How dare you trespass into the Deathkin's sacred place? You're courting death. It was a cold-looking middle-aged man in black armor. He held a dark golden spear in his hand. When he saw Ling Xiao and the others appear, his eyes flashed with murderous intent. His spear suddenly pierced towards Ling Xiao. Boom! The dark golden spear exuded a powerful and unparalleled power, as if it could pierce through everything. Its murderous aura soared, and its speed was extremely fast. Those who block me shall die. Ling Xiao's eyes were blazing with killing intent. At this moment, the killing intent in his heart rose to the extreme. These damned Deathkin people dared to use his disciples to grow the 7 evils gourd. At this moment, Ling Xiao only wanted to kill them all. Boom! Ling Xiao's palm chopped down with unparalleled sharpness. Like a blazing blade, it suddenly slashed on the dark golden spear. Crack! The dark golden spear was directly shattered. Then, Ling Xiao's fist came through the air. The blazing fist print was incomparably terrifying. The cold-looking middle-aged man's face fell. Never could he have guessed that Ling Xiao would be this strong. Even Mo Hun, who had just arrived, didn't have a chance to say anything before Ling Xiao and the middle-aged man clashed. Boom! Ling Xiao's fist landed on the cold-looking middle-aged man's chest. The terrifying force of the fist exploded, containing a blazing killing intent. The middle-aged man was instantly blasted to smithereens. Under Ling Zhao's furious attack, no matter how strong the cold middle-aged man was, he still died at Ling Zhao's hands. Ling Zhao didn't let the cold-looking middle-aged man's nascent divinity and godhood go, either. His King Heaven Devourer cauldron devoured them. How impudent, Ling Zhao! This is the holy land of the Deathkin. How dare you cause trouble here? Mo Hun's eyes blazed with killing intent, and the other Deathkin experts looked on in shock. Their killing intent surged as they locked onto Ling Zhao and the others. Impudent! You dare use my disciple to nourish the 7 demons' gourd? You really don't know the difference between life and death. Since that's the case, there's no need for the Deathkin to exist. Starting today, you'll all be wiped out. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with killing intent as he shot toward the Deathkin experts. Old goat, dragon horse, protect the coffin. Don't act rashly. Ling Zhao transmitted his orders to the old goat and dragon horse. Ling Zhao didn't trust Lu Tongtian. Who knew if that old bastard had come for the 7 demons' gourd? So, just in case, it was better to have the old goat and dragon horse stand guard. Rumble. Lightning flashed in the sky, and golden light swirled around Ling Zhao. His murderous aura surged, and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he locked onto Mo Hun and the other Deathkin experts. Dazzling fist imprints swept through the air, containing an invincible power that could sweep through anything. This was the power of a fleshly body godly ascension. Given Ling Zhao's profound accumulation, killing god spirits was as easy as slaughtering dogs. Get into formation. We must stop him. Mo Hun's eyes flashed with killing intent as he shouted. Rumble. The 8 god spirits beside Mo Hun instantly formed a battle formation under Mo Hun's command. Their divine power intertwined, and together with Mo Hun's power, they enveloped Ling Zhao. Boom! A blazing sword light slashed across the sky as if it contained the power of 9 great god spirits. This unknown battle formation allowed them to gather all of their power for every attack. They wanted to use the power of this battle formation to completely kill Ling Zhao. Chapter 11:16. Ling Zhao's gaze was cold as he pointed his finger across the sky. A blazing light pierced through the void and instantly shattered the sword light. At the same time, Ling Zhao formed an invincible fist seal and blasted it towards a Deathkin elite around him. Although this formation was very strong, as long as one Deathkin elite was killed, the formation would naturally be broken. Rumble. The dazzling fist seal traversed the void like an immemorial divine mountain. It contained unparalleled divine power and was about to completely kill the Deathkin elite. The Deathkin elite's expression changed. Immediately, the divine power around him rose. The power of 9 people gathered on his body at the same time, and he suddenly blasted a punch towards Ling Zhao. In his opinion, even if the power of 9 people could not kill Ling Zhao, it could still repel Ling Zhao. Crack! However, as soon as the 2 fists collided, he instantly understood how wrong he was. Ling Zhao's power was simply terrifying to the extreme. One of his arms directly exploded into a bloody mist. Boom! Ling Zhao kicked out and directly kicked his chest, wanting to completely kill him. Swoosh! 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 The light in the void was dazzling. Divine power rose from behind Ling Zhao. Blazing saber and sword light, as well as a powerful divine hand, were all aimed at Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao charged in all directions in this battle formation like a fierce dragon crossing the river. His power was so terrifying that it made Mo Hun and the others feel as if they could not restrain Ling Zhao. You want to stop me with such a broken formation? Ling Zhao sneered. His eyes were blazing with murderous intent as they fell on Mo Hun. He could not be bothered to waste more time with these Deathkin. He just wanted to quickly get rid of them and then rescue Lin Feng and the others. Rumble. Divine light rose from Ling Zhao's body as he blasted out a punch. The phantoms of the 4 divine beasts appeared behind him and gathered together to form an extremely terrifying fist seal. The divine light of the four divine beasts soared into the sky as if it was going to completely break open the sky. The blazing light contained an extremely terrifying power and turned into a chaotic color. It was going to recreate the chaotic world. 4 elephants heaven striking style. This was originally a god-level martial art. After Ling Zhao's body became a god, he could finally unleash the full power of this move. Raging winds howled, the void trembled, lightning flashed, and chaotic fog filled the air. Ling Zhao punched out, and in an instant, numerous strange phenomena appeared and gathered together, making Ling Zhao look like an invincible god of war. This punch blasted towards Mo Hun, causing Mo Hun's expression to change drastically. Although Ling Zhao's 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique was extremely terrifying, it only made Mo Hun extremely fearful. But now, Ling Zhao's 4 elephants striking the sky actually made Mo Hun feel a strong threat of death. Kill! Mo Hun roared. Black divine power rose around him, and his aura instantly skyrocketed. The power of the battle formation was also tumbling violently. The 9 Deathkin experts began to go all out, pouring all their power into Mo Hun's body. Rumble! A black saber appeared in Mo Hun's palm. It was ancient and mysterious, flowing with brilliant divine light. With an aura that could split the heavens and earth, it suddenly slashed down toward Ling Zhao. Crack! 4 elephants striking the sky was a divine technique created by Ling Zhao by fusing the 4 great secret techniques. It contained the power of the 4 elephants' origin, and its power was unparalleled. It suddenly blasted on the black saber in Mo Hun's hand. Suddenly, the light was dazzling. Streaks of black divine light erupted like lightning, sweeping in all directions. Although the black saber was also a powerful divine weapon, it could not withstand the 4 elephants striking the sky at all. It was almost instantly sent flying. The 9 Deathkin experts, including Mo Hun, were all struck by lightning. They suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and were instantly sent flying. Even the originally incomparably powerful battle formation began to crumble at this moment. The 9 Deathkin experts were instantly severely injured. Ling Zhao stood in the air. His eyes were incomparably sharp as he stared indifferently at Mo Hun and the others. Instantly, their bodies trembled, and their eyes were filled with horror. The 9 Deathkin experts could not withstand the power of Ling Zhao's attack and were all severely injured. If Ling Zhao continued to attack, it was very likely that they would all die in Ling Zhao's hands. Stop! At this moment, an indifferent and clear sigh sounded in the void. Rumble! Heaven and earth trembled. The mountain under Ling Zhao's feet seemed to split open. Dazzling light filled the air, and a huge ancient bronze coffin flew out from within. The ancient bronze coffin emitted an ancient and terrifying aura. It slowly floated in the void and blocked in front of Ling Zhao. Crack! The coffin lid slowly opened, and a woman in white sat up from within. The woman looked very beautiful. She was about 20 years old. Her face was flawless, and her skin was sparkling like jade. Her figure was graceful, and her curves undulated, exuding a different kind of temptation. Her entire body exuded a mysterious aura. Her eyes were as bright as the stars, but incomparably indifferent. Looking at Ling Zhao, it was as if there was a cold aura that locked onto Ling Zhao. Danger! Extreme danger! Ling Zhao's eyes instantly flashed, and his entire body began to be on guard. This woman in white made him feel extremely dangerous. Greetings to the ancestor. He trespassed into the Deathkin's sacred ground and killed our people. Ancestor, please kill this child for us. After seeing this woman in white, Mo Hun and many other Deathkin experts trembled all over. Then, they could not help but kneel down, and their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. This woman in white was actually the Deathkin's ancestor, and her aura seemed to have reached the true god realm. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Ling Zhao to feel this way. The woman in white was also surrounded by a dense death aura. Her temperament was extraordinary, as if she was the empress of the netherworld. Her entire body exuded a majesty and aura that ruled the world. She stared at Ling Xiao with an indifferent gaze. She was not angry at Ling Xiao for killing the Deathkin. Her eyes were as if she was looking at an ant. However, when she saw Jin Se beside Ling Xiao, her gaze could not help but waver a little. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He also felt that the way the woman in white looked at Jin Se was not right. Let them go. After a moment, the woman in white looked deeply at Jin Se, and then said indifferently. What? Ancestor, you can't. They are here for the 7 evils gourd. This 7 evils gourd is the treasure of our Deathkin. Mo Hun's body trembled, and his eyes revealed a trace of disbelief as he hurriedly said anxiously. He did not expect that the ancestor would give such an order and let Ling Xiao and the others go so easily. Chapter 11:17. You dare to disobey my orders? The white-robed woman's eyes flashed sharply as she glanced indifferently at Mo Hun. Mo Hun shuddered and immediately prostrated himself. I wouldn't dare. Mo Hun obeys, I'll let them go now. Ling Xiao looked deeply at the white-robed woman. He could sense that the white-robed woman had let them go so easily because of Jin Se. Who are you? Why do I feel that you're very familiar? Jin Se's eyes revealed a trace of confusion as she looked at the white-robed woman and asked. Do you recognize me? The white-robed woman's eyes revealed a trace of excitement as she stared at Jin Se and asked. No, I just feel that you're familiar. Jin Se shook her head and replied. A trace of disappointment appeared in the white-robed woman's eyes as she said, Your Highness, when you wake up, you'll naturally recognize me. Since these 9 bastards have offended your highness, they deserve to die. The white-robed woman's words were very calm, but it instantly caused the expressions of Mo Hun and the others to change greatly. They wanted to escape without a second thought. Boom! However, the white-robed woman's gentle palm struck them and the 9 of them instantly exploded into a bloody mist in the void. She then swept them up and all their flesh, blood, and primordial spirits fell onto the 7-colored gourd vine. The 9 divine spirits of the Deathkin had been killed by the white-robed woman's palm just like that. Ling Xiao's eyes also revealed a trace of shock. The white dragon horse and the old goat were even more well-behaved. They were all frightened by the white-robed woman. I'm not a spiritual paragon. Jin Se frowned slightly as she looked at the white-robed woman and said. She could sense that the white-robed woman's relationship with a spiritual paragon was not ordinary, but unfortunately, she did not think that she was the spiritual paragon from 10,000 years ago. You're indeed not a spiritual paragon, but you're still a spiritual paragon. When you remember the past, you'll naturally come back to find me. When that time comes, I'll tell you everything. Your Highness, the 7 demons' gourd is about to mature. Don't worry, your 7 disciples aren't dead and they'll have a great opportunity. The white-robed woman spoke indifferently before lying down in the ancient bronze coffin again. She then turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the depths of the mountains. Lu Tongtian, who's that? Ling Xiao asked softly as he looked at the shocked Lu Tongtian. She is the master of the 1,000 Coffin Mountain. You can also call her the King of Death Spirit. Lu Tongtian's eyes were filled with fear as he slowly spoke. King of Death Spirit? Is she very strong? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said indifferently. He's not just strong. I'm afraid you won't even be able to withstand a single move from her. She is the king of all living things in this 1,000 Coffin Mountain. I thought we were dead for sure, but who would have thought that she would let us go? With that, Lu Tongtian glanced at Jin Se fearfully. The fact that the King of Death Spirit knew Jin Se shocked him greatly. Rumble. At this moment, the 7-colored gourd vine shone brightly, flowing with 7-colored light, becoming dazzling. Originally, the auras of the 7 small gourds had not reached their peak, but after the 9 Deathkin experts were slapped to death by the white-robed woman, they began to rapidly mature. Ling Xiao, Hurry up and bring Lu Jianyi here. Not only can he regain his memories, but he can also obtain an unimaginable opportunity. Lu Tongtian looked at the 7-colored gourd vine and hurriedly urged. All right. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he opened the god's stone and brought Lu Jianyi out. Greetings, master. Lu Jianyi bowed to Ling Zhao, his eyes filled with confusion. He did not know why he was here. In the next moment, he saw Lu Tongtian and the 7-colored gourd vine in front of him. Grandfather? You're here too. What's this? Why do I feel a sense of familiarity? Lu Jianyi exclaimed in surprise. At the same time, he looked at the 7-colored gourd vine with a tinge of surprise in his eyes. Jianyi, go over now. There's a great opportunity waiting for you there. Perhaps it can allow you to become a supreme being directly. Lu Tongtian smiled as he pointed at the 7-colored gourd vine. Although Lu Jianyi was confused, he still walked toward the 7-colored gourd vine obediently. For some reason, Lu Jianyi felt that the 7-colored gourd vine was exuding a mysterious fluctuation as if it was summoning him. Lu Tongtian, are you sure that my 7 disciples are fine? If anything happens to them, I won't let you off. Ling Zhao said as he stared at Lu Tongtian. Don't worry. Just now, the King of Death Spirit's palm not only killed the 9 Death Race fellows, but also saved your 7 disciples. Now, your 7 disciples have merged with the 7 Evils Gourd and they complement each other. As long as the 7 Evils Gourd is fine, your 7 disciples will be fine. Lu Tongtian chuckled as a tinge of anticipation appeared in his eyes. Buzz! Lu Jianyi walked toward the 7-colored gourd vine. Instantly, a black gourd emitted a dazzling light and swallowed Lu Jianyi whole. Rumble! Just as the black gourd swallowed Lu Jianyi, the 7-colored gourd vine shone brightly and the void shook violently. Bolts of lightning fell from the heavens. In an instant, heaven and earth trembled and a strange fluctuation spread in all directions. It was as if some kind of treasure had appeared and the 7-colored divine light lit up the sky. The 7 gourds shone brightly and turned into 7 divine rainbows that filled the sky like a heavenly river. The 7 Evils Gourd started to vibrate violently and a strange spiritual fluctuation was emitted from it. Ding ding dang dang. The 7 small gourds collided with each other like wind chimes. The sound was crisp and clear. Kacha! When the 7-colored gourd vine shone brightly, the lightning in the void fell. However, before it could hit the 7 gourds, it was refined by a terrifying devouring force. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled and a dazzling light shone as if it had lit up the entire world. The 7 Evils Gourd on the 7-colored gourd vine fell off instantly and 7 chubby dolls appeared in front of Ling Zhao and the others with a small gourd on their heads. The 7 dolls looked like they were carved out of jade and had big round eyes. They were very cute and looked like they were 3 or 4 years old. Their skin was as clear as jade and flowed with brilliant light. These are the Gourd brothers. Ling Zhao's eyes widened in an instant, his gaze filled with an incomparably strange expression. He had not expected 7 Gourd brothers to jump out of the 7 Evils Gourd. He was stunned for a moment. Chapter 11:18. Weng. The 7 gourd dolls looked like they were carved from jade and were incomparably cute. However, there was an incomparably majestic vitality flowing through their bodies. What shocked Ling Zhao was that the 7 gourd dolls began to grow at a visible rate. They quickly turned into 7, 8 or 9-year-old youths and then slowly stopped growing. There was an incomparably majestic energy within their bodies that wasn't any weaker than a supreme expert. The sharpness of metal, the toughness of wood, the softness of water, the fierceness of fire, the heaviness of earth, the darkness and death of yin, and the light and vitality of yang. 7 different types of energy manifested within the 7 of them. However, Ling Zhao discovered that the 7 gourd dolls were made of pure energy. It was as if they contained the power of yin, yang, and the 5 elements, mysterious and unfathomable. Kacha! Just at this moment, the coffin of the Path Understanding Tree suddenly shattered. 7 rays of light shot out from the Path Understanding Tree and instantly merged with the 7 of them. When the 7 of them slowly opened their eyes, they were all filled with incomparable excitement and joy. Mu Lin Feng, De Gu Longcheng, Yi Qianjue, Lu Jiani, Yan Yang Tian, Lu Gechen, Ji Hangong. Greetings, Master, greetings, Master's wife. The 7 of them knelt at the same time towards Ling Xiao and Jin Se. Their voices were filled with incomparable excitement and their eyes were filled with respect and admiration. Especially Lu Jiani. At this moment, he finally understood why Ling Xiao took him in as a disciple. So he was Ling Xiao's disciple to begin with. These were the 7 great disciples under Ling Xiao. At this moment, they had all returned. Get up! Ling Xiao and Jin Se were also incomparably excited. Their eyes were slightly wet as they helped the 7 of them up. Ling Xiao originally thought that it was a life and death separation. He didn't have much hope that Mu Lin Feng and the others were still alive when he arrived at the 1,000 Coffin Mountain. However, now that the 7 of them were all alive, Ling Xiao was incomparably excited. Lu Tongtian, can you tell me what's going on now? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he looked at Lu Tongtian. Ling Xiao didn't understand the changes in front of him and needed an explanation. Why did Mu Lin Feng and the others merge with the 7 demons' gourd? Why did they become like this? Do you know what the 7 demons' gourd is? Lu Tongtian sighed softly and said slowly. Without waiting for Ling Xiao's reply, he muttered to himself, the 7 demons' gourd is a heavenly spiritual treasure. It contains the 7 great origins of yin, yang, and 5 elements. Even in the realm of the gods, it is a supreme treasure. Only the legendary sages have the right to possess such a treasure. The Deathkin originally wanted to use the 7 of them to nourish the 7 evils gourd seed, in addition to the boundless chi of life and death here, in order to create a supreme treasure like the 7 evils gourd. But a few decades ago, Lu Jiani was taken away by me, and the 7 demons' gourd was never able to reach perfection. This time, the King of Death's soul killed Emo Hun and the other 8 experts, nourished the 7 evils gourd with their flesh and blood, and completely merged their flesh, blood, and primordial spirits with the 7 evils gourd. It can be said that your 7 disciples are the 7 evils gourd itself, and they have the power of the 7 origins. So, the 7 of them are the legendary innate saint bodies. Innate gold spiritual body, innate wood spiritual body, innate water spiritual body, innate fire spiritual body, innate earth spiritual body, innate yin-yang saint body, and innate life and death body. Lu Tongtian looked at Mu Lin Feng and the others as if he was looking at a supreme treasure. His eyes were filled with incomparable amazement. 7 innate saint bodies? Ling Xiao was also shocked by Lu Tongtian's words. 10,000 years ago, although Mu Lin Feng and the other 6 disciples were very talented, they did not reach the level of saint bodies. But because of the 7 evils gourd, the 7 of them became innate saint bodies. This was too unbelievable. Moreover, with the power of the 7 evils gourd, their bodies already have the foundation of the divine path. If they were in the realm of the gods, they would probably be able to reach the divine spirit realm immediately. But even in the mortal world, as long as they cultivate a little, they will soon reach the peak of the human Tao. Moreover, if the 7 of them merge into one, they will completely form the innate spiritual treasure gourd, and have the power to kill gods and demons. Lu Tongtian said slowly. Lu Tongtian's words made Ling Xiao a little envious. In his rebirth, he had experienced countless life and death situations before he could reach the divine spirit realm. In the end, the 7 of them were very good. They actually directly possessed the power of the divine path. This also showed how powerful and terrifying the 7 evils gourd was. How do you know so much? The old goat looked at Lu Tongtian suspiciously and asked. Because the 7 evils gourd seed was originally mine. It was mine. It was snatched away by those bastards from the Deathkin. What a waste of a treasure. Speaking of this, Lu Tongtian's face was immediately filled with depression. Then, are they treasures or humans now? 7 living people merged into one with the 7 evils gourd. Isn't it too strange? The white dragon horse asked with wide eyes. You can treat them as treasures or humans because they are formed by the fusion of humans and the 7 evils gourd. They have the bloodline of humans and also the power of the 7 origins. Ling Xiao, if you want to deal with demon god King Bo Sun, you may need to rely on them. Lu Tongtian said as he looked at Ling Xiao with a meaningful gaze. Wang. At this moment, a light flashed in Mu Linfeng's hand and a golden gourd appeared. He opened it gently and hundreds of millions of sword chi shot out from it. It contained unparalleled power. It was the innate metal sword chi. It was extremely terrifying. Master, who is demon god King Bo Sun? The 7 of us will definitely be able to help you slaughter him. Mu Linfeng asked curiously. Being reborn 10,000 years later made him extremely curious about everything that had happened. Eldest senior brother, let me tell you. Many things have happened in the past 10,000 years. Without waiting for Ling Xiao to speak, Lu Jiani chuckled and explained everything that had happened in the past 10,000 years. The 7 of them gathered for the first time after 10,000 years and were extremely excited. At the same time, they were also extremely curious about the current situation. Ling Xiao, if the 7 evils gourd appeared in the divine realm, even godly king experts would brazenly fall out and snatch it. These 7 disciples of yours are both treasures and disasters, so you must be careful in the future. Lu Tongtian said slowly. What's your purpose in telling me this? Ling Xiao looked at Lu Tongtian and asked. Chapter 11:19. Don't worry, I don't have any ulterior motives. As long as you can take good care of the 7 of them, I'll be at ease. The gates to the realm of gods will open soon. I hope you can wipe out the demon race as soon as possible. Lu Tongtian smiled faintly as he looked at the sky in the distance. There was a hint of worry in his eyes. Don't worry. They're my disciples. I'll naturally take good care of them. No one will dare to hurt them. Ling Xiao nodded. Since Lu Tongtian wasn't willing to say, he didn't force him. However, Ling Xiao cultivated the heavens with secret skill and could sense traces of fate. He could feel that Lu Tongtian didn't have any ill intentions towards him. That was enough. Old Lu, I still have a friend. He's the Supreme Azura from 10,000 years ago. He used the divine wood of time to seal himself here. Do you know where he is? Ling Xiao began to ask Lu Tongtian about the Supreme Azura's whereabouts. The Supreme Azura from 10,000 years ago used the divine wood of time as a coffin? I do know where he is. However, I advise you not to disturb him. His cultivation has reached the most crucial moment. Lu Tongtian's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. Oh. Why do you say that? Ling Xiao asked in surprise. Follow me. Lu Tongtian smiled faintly as he flew towards the mountain in the distance. The 7 of you should return to the Changsun sect first. I'll go look for your martial uncle Azura. Ling Xiao said to the 7 of them. He then kept them in the heavenly stone and asked Lu Jian to bring them back to the Changsun sect. As for how big of a commotion the 7 of them would cause when they returned to the Changsun sect, Ling Xiao couldn't be bothered about that for now. Ling Xiao and Lu Tongtian stopped in front of a triple star mountain. It was called the Triple Star Mountain because there were 3 peaks that emitted black light. They surrounded each other and there was a deep valley in the middle. The valley emitted a thick death aura. There was even a hint of divine Tao law. The Supreme Azura should be in this valley. However, he's at the crucial moment of reversing life and death and breaking through to the godly state. You'd better not disturb him. Lu Tongtian looked at the valley below and spoke slowly. Reversing life and death and breaking through to the godly state. Can one break through to the godly state in the 1,000 Coffin Mountain? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. Lu Tongtian said slowly, I know what you want to say. The gates to the divine world are closed, and the mortal world is unable to sense the laws of the divine Tao. It is naturally incomparably difficult to attain the Tao and become a god using the laws of the divine force. But the 8 great forbidden grounds were different. The 8 great forbidden grounds all possessed incomplete divine Tao laws, and even had some sort of connection with the divine realm. If you wanted to attain Tao and become a god, the 8 great forbidden grounds were a better place. Supreme Azura's lifespan was nearing its end, but at the last moment, he had comprehended the laws of life and death, forming a mysterious connection with the Thousand Coffin Mountain. Now, he was about to break through to the deity realm. That's why I told you not to disturb him. The 8 great forbidden lands all have divine Tao laws. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a little tempted. He had always been puzzled by the fact that he had broken through to the 3 gods stage. If it was really as Lu Tongtian said, that the 8 great forbidden lands could all become gods, perhaps he could give it a try. That's right. Moreover, the 8 great forbidden grounds are far from as simple as you think. Lu Tongtian looked at Ling Zhao and said with deep meaning. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as if he had thought of something. He asked, could the death race of the Thousand Coffin Mountain be related to the divine realm? And the other great sacred grounds, do they also have existences similar to the death race? Lu Tongtian nodded and said, among the 8 great forbidden grounds, the Time Cave has the Scarlet Dragon War God's bloodline. You already know that. The God Burial Cave has the God Burial race, the Universe River has the Celestial race, and the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land has the Heavenly Devil race, which is also the extraterritorial demon race. If you want to find Demon God King Bo Sun, you might be able to find some clues in the Heavenly Devil Ancient Land. The Thousand Coffin Mountain has the Death race, the Holy Ground has the Ancient Demon race, the Primitive Ancient Mine has the Witch race, and the Reincarnation Sea has the Reincarnation Beast race. These are all related to the divine realm. Due to various reasons, they had always been in the forbidden grounds, and there was no way for them to leave. However, the door to the divine realm is about to open, which also means that there is an opportunity to return to the divine realm. Therefore, these days, there are all kinds of powerful beings in the forbidden grounds. If you want to become a god using the divine power law, the cosmic river is the best place. The divine power law there is vast and boundless. However, the celestial tribe is also the most arrogant and powerful. There are many powerful gods, so you still have to be careful. The cosmic river. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. In his previous life, he had also been to the cosmic river. It was a strange place in the war god continent. It contained endless chaotic power of laws, as if there were many broken small worlds and stars gathered there. The divine power was like an ocean, and it was very dangerous. Ling Zhao didn't expect the celestial tribe to exist in the cosmic river. However, in order to reach the 3 gods stage and fight against the demon god King Bo Sun, Ling Zhao planned to go to the cosmic river. Thank you for your advice, Elder Lu. I wonder if you know about the 7 souls dispersing soul light. Ling Zhao looked at Lu Tongtian and asked. 7 souls dispersing soul light. Hearing these words, Lu Tongtian's face turned solemn. He glanced at Jin Se and sighed, you want me to treat her, right? Does Elder Lu have a way? Ling Zhao's eyes lit up. Lu Tongtian smiled bitterly and said, I don't have a way. Unless you can kill the demon god King Bo Sun, the 7 souls dispersing soul light will naturally disperse. Or, you can find the supreme emotion forgetting water. Ling Zhao's eyes showed a trace of disappointment. Lu Tongtian's words were almost exactly the same as Zhu Gonglie's. Ling Zhao naturally didn't want Jin Se to consume the supreme emotion forgetting water. It seemed that the only way was to kill the demon god King Bo Sun. The supreme emotion forgetting water is a supreme divine item. I'm afraid we don't have it in our world. So you should cultivate hard. If you can reach the 3 gods stage and kill the demon god King Bo Sun, you can naturally cure her. However, her lifespan is almost up. I'm afraid she only has less than 10 years left. You have to hurry. Lu Tongtian's eyes showed a trace of pity. Thank you for telling me. I will definitely kill the demon god King Bo Sun. Ling Zhao's eyes showed a trace of determination. All right. Now that this matter is over, I have to leave. Please take good care of the Seven Souls Gourd. We should meet again. Lu Tongtian smiled faintly and walked into the distance. Soon, he disappeared in front of Ling Xiao and Jin Se. Ling Xiao looked at Lu Tongtian's departing figure and unconsciously clenched his fist. Was there only 10 years left? Chapter 11:20. All right. Jin Se, no matter where you want to go, I will accompany you. Ling Xiao nodded seriously. Big brother Ling Xiao, don't be sad. To be able to see you again, I feel that this is the greatest gift from the heavens. Whether you can kill demon god King Bo Sun or not, I have no regrets. Jin Se smiled gently. Her smile was like a flower, and her face was beautiful. Her big eyes were sparkling, filled with happiness and gentleness. Jin Se, I will definitely kill demon god King Bo Sun, I promise. I want you to stay by my side forever and never leave me. Ling Xiao hugged Jin Se in his arms and said slowly. It seemed like he was talking to Jin Se, but also to himself. Two figures stood on top of the mountain, their clothes fluttering in the wind. The old goat and the white dragon horse stood behind them. It was rare that they didn't make any jokes, but their eyes were filled with complicated emotions. This pair of immortal couple was like a jade couple. Why was the heavens so cruel to separate them? The following days became much more relaxed. Ling Xiao and Jin Se rode the white dragon horse and traveled across the war god continent. They came to the twin mountains that had long disappeared. They went to the Azure Dragon Temple where they once fought, and many other places that they went to together 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years had changed the world. Although many places had lost their original appearance, Jin Se was still very happy and blissful. Or rather, as long as she could be by Ling Zhao's side, she would be happy no matter where she went. She stayed in the sealed world alone for 10,000 years. Her thin shoulders carried a heavy burden. She suppressed billions of demons, swept through the sealed world, and became the sword goddess that everyone feared. But this wasn't what she wanted. What she wanted was actually very simple. Just like now, even if she didn't have any cultivation, even if she could see the end of her lifespan, it was enough as long as Ling Xiao was around. Flowers bloomed and withered, and the world flourished. She only had Ling Xiao in her eyes, and Ling Xiao was the world in her eyes. A few months later, they returned to the longevity sect. The return of Mu Lin Feng and the other 6 disciples shocked the disciples of the longevity sect again. The 7 of them were the same generation as the ancestors of the longevity sect. Especially Long Outyen, he was so happy that he almost went crazy. All of a sudden, he had 7 martial nephews who were about the same age as him. Moreover, they were all important figures from 10,000 years ago. This brat had become a little tyrant, swaggering around with Mu Lin Feng and the others all day long. Those sects that had offended Ling Xiao were now in trouble. Under Long Outyen's leadership, the 8 of them were like bandits, plundering everything and taking away all the treasures. However, those holy lands of the martial Dao didn't dare to say anything. They even had to greet them with a smile. Otherwise, if that malefic Ling Xiao found out, they would be finished. They couldn't wait for Long Outyen to come and rob them. That way, they might be able to preserve their holy land's inheritance. A few sanctuaries that had blood feuds with Ling Xiao, such as the Nantian aristocratic family, the Star Palace, the Netherworld Pavilion, the Emperor Tomb Mountain, etc., had all sealed their mountain gates. Everyone was restless, afraid that Ling Xiao would kill his way in one day. In the end, Ling Xiao didn't kill his way in. Long Outyen, Mu Lin Feng, and the others came and killed some of the higher-ups of the Holy Lands. They stole some treasures, but they didn't dare to say anything. They were extremely regretful. The entire war god continent had practically become Long Outyen, Mu Linfeng, and the others' backyard. They were tormenting it to their heart's content. After Ling Xiao returned to the Changsun sect, he decisively gave these guys a confinement order, telling them to cultivate in seclusion and not to go out and cause trouble. Mu Linfeng and the others had the innate saint body and the power of the divine path. They were the most suitable to cultivate the Aries technique. Ling Xiao simply passed the Aries technique to the 7 of them. The Aries technique was the most powerful martial art that Ling Xiao had obtained. It was enough for him to cultivate to the Divine King realm. It was passed down personally by the Scarlet Dragon of War and was far superior to ordinary supreme martial arts. With the Aries technique, the cultivation of Mu Linfeng and the others improved by leaps and bounds. It was almost 1 realm per day. The speed made Ling Xiao tremble with fear. On this day, when Ling Xiao was about to bid farewell to Jin Se and head to the Universe River, an uninvited guest came to the Changsun sect. "Where is Ling Xiao from the Changsun sect? Why aren't you coming out to receive the decree?" A cold and arrogant voice sounded in the sky above the Changsun mountain. It was a young man in a white robe. He looked extraordinarily handsome with a slender and heroic figure. He exuded a powerful aura. He had a head full of long white hair, looking incomparably elegant. His eyes were sky blue, like resplendent gems. However, his face was full of arrogance and his eyes were cold. Behind him was a skinny old man in a white robe. He had a head full of white hair and his sky blue eyes seemed to contain a vast starry sky. "Who are you? How dare you call out the name of the sky-devouring patriarch? Get down here." The enforcers who were guarding the vicinity of the Longevity Mountain appeared instantly. A group of Longevity sect disciples stared at the young man in the air with cold gazes. Ling Xiao was the invincible god of war in the hearts of the Changsun sect disciples. He was their faith. This young man dared to behave atrociously in the Changsun sect and even wanted Ling Xiao to receive the decree. This angered the Changsun sect disciples. "A bunch of ants dares to shout at this young master. You're courting death." A cold light flashed in the eyes of the young man in white robes. Instantly, he slammed his palm down. The terrifying palm print was incomparably vast and contained a powerful divine might. The law enforcement disciples were mostly in the noble realm or celestial realm. They were no match for this young man. They were instantly turned into a bloody mist. Enemy attack. The eyes of the Changsun sect's disciples instantly turned bloodshot. Some of them even started to roar. This was only the outer sect of the Changsun sect. The core disciples of the inner sect were all in the Changsun world. The news quickly reached Ling Xiao's ears. When Ling Xiao heard the news, his gaze instantly turned cold. At this time, who dared to behave atrociously in the Changsun sect? He wanted to see who was so audacious. Swoosh! Ling Xiao brought the old goat and the white dragon horse. Behind them were Nangong Xian and the other elders and disciples of the Changsun sect. "Grandson, how dare you kill the disciples of the Changsun sect? Who gave you the guts? Get down here and accept your death." The old goat looked at the arrogant white-robed young man and immediately became angry. He sneered and said, "Don't worry. This young man's cultivation seemed to be extraordinary. He had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Realm." The white-robed old man behind him had a terrifying aura. He was a godly spirit. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He was sure that these two people were living beings from the Forbidden Grounds. Chapter 1121. How dare you? A mere animal dares to make a big fuss in front of this young master. The white-robed young man's eyes turned cold as he scolded the old goat. The word, beast, immediately infuriated the old goat. The old goat clenched his teeth and cursed, "You're the beast. Your whole family are beasts. You dog, open your eyes wide." When I swept across the world and was invincible, you were still in your mother's womb. No, even your father was in your mother's womb. Get down here if you dare. I'll beat you up until your mother can't recognize you. You're courting death." The white-robed young man's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he slammed his palm down on the old goat. Boom! The old goat sneered as divine energy surged around him. He seemed to have turned into a stream of light that was hard to catch with the naked eye. He instantly escaped from the range of the white-robed young man's palm. At the same time, he leaped into the sky and smashed his huge paw down on the white-robed young man. The white-robed young man's expression changed slightly as soon as the old goat attacked. He did not expect the old goat to be a titled supreme being whose cultivation was stronger than his. Without thinking, he clenched his palm into a fist and punched out. Bang! A muffled sound came from the void as an unparalleled divine energy came crushing down. The white-robed young man was sent flying a few hundred feet away by the old goat before he crashed heavily on a mountain peak in the distance. Boom! The mountain peak was smashed into pieces by the white-robed young man. The mountain peak trembled as rocks flew everywhere and the earth rumbled. The old goat's true form was the godly beast Tautai. He had received the complete inheritance of the monster saint and his cultivation was stronger than the white-robed young man's. At this moment, his invincible physical strength exploded. The white-robed young man was careless and instantly suffered a great loss. Bastard, I'm going to kill you. The white-robed young man's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he rushed out from the mountain peak. He looked a little embarrassed as his hair was disheveled and his eyes were filled with humiliation and anger. Buzz! A black ancient sword appeared in his hand. It exuded an unparalleled sharpness as it slashed down at the old goat. The ancient black sword was like a black flood dragon, floating in the void. Sword chi rose up, containing a powerful divine might. The sword seemed to be able to split the world in half. It was terrifying. Fuck off. The old goat sneered. The demon saint's scepter materialized. He used it as a long stick and swung it towards the white-robed young man. Clang! The demon saint's scepter and the black ancient sword collided, and a bright light burst out. Suddenly, the black ancient sword was repelled. At the same time, the old goat took advantage of the situation to come over and kick the white-robed young man's chest. Puff! The old goat's hoof could even crush an immemorial mountain. It contained a terrifying power. The white-robed young man felt as if he was struck by lightning. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and his face instantly became extremely pale. How dare you! The eyes of the white-robed old man behind the white-robed young man flashed a cold light and he sent a palm smashing down on the old goat. He did not expect that the white-robed young man would be defeated so quickly. Moreover, it seemed that the young man had suffered heavy injuries. Immediately, he felt as if he had been greatly provoked. A bunch of shameless bastards. You beat up the young one and now the old one is here. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? The old goat was truly enraged. The demon saint's scepter in his hand shone brightly and emitted a mysterious and vast aura. It was as if a terrifying figure was about to emerge from the demon saint's scepter. Bang! The white-robed old man's palm was directly shattered by the demon saint's scepter. Even the white-robed old man trembled and could not help but take a few steps back. It's a godly king weapon. The white-robed old man trembled as a scorching light appeared in his eyes. It's such a waste for such a treasure to be in the hands of an evil creature. Give it to me. The white-robed old man took a fancy to the demon saint's scepter in the old goat's hand. Immediately, divine energy rose from his body and he turned into a handsome young man. His white hair fluttered in the wind and his aura was powerful. He emitted a mysterious aura of being one with the heavens as if he had become one with the heavens. The energy fluctuation was extremely terrifying. He sent a fist smashing down on the old goat. It was as if billions of lightning bolts were descending at the same time. Scram! Ling Zhao's eyes shone brightly, revealing a hint of impatience as he threw out a punch. Crack! Ling Xiao's fist illuminated the sky like a golden mountain as it flew toward the white-robed old man. It contained a vast amount of vital energy and there seemed to be a vast dragon's roar. What? The white-robed old man's expression changed. He had no choice but to clash with Ling Xiao's fist. Bang! Heaven and earth shook. The white-robed old man felt as if an unparalleled divine energy was attacking him. He could not dodge and his entire body was sent flying by Ling Xiao. You're that Ling Xiao. You. How can you be so strong? The white-robed young man and white-robed old man both had a trace of disbelief in their eyes. In their eyes, the beings on the war god continent were like ants. If it were not for the fact that they could not leave, they would have razed this world to the ground. Now that the world had changed, they were able to leave the forbidden grounds. However, they did not put the people on the war god continent in their eyes. Even Ling Xiao, who claimed to have killed a god, was at most a demigod in their eyes. But now, they suddenly realized that Ling Xiao was a true god. His strength was extremely terrifying. Who are you? Why did you kill the disciples of my Changsun sect? Tell me honestly and I can give you a quick death. Ling Xiao said indifferently. His voice was very calm. He had already treated these two fellows as dead people. Ling Xiao, how dare you? We're from the heavenly human tribe. His Majesty, the heavenly king of my tribe, has issued a decree. Why aren't you kneeling down to receive the decree? Do you want your Changsun sect to be annihilated? The white-robed young man's eyes were extremely cold as he shouted at Ling Xiao. Heavenly human tribe? Beings from the universe river. I haven't found you yet and you dare to come to my Changsun sect. You really don't know what's good for you. Who is the heavenly king of your tribe? How dare he issue a decree to me? What a joke! Ling Xiao sneered coldly as his eyes were filled with coldness. He was planning to go to the universe river to cultivate and try to prove his Tao to become a god. He did not expect the people from the heavenly human tribe to come. How dare you blaspheme the heavenly king of my tribe? The white-robed young man's eyes turned cold as he revealed a trace of cold killing intent. You really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Who gave you the courage to be so arrogant in front of me? Chapter 1122. Stop! The white-robed old man's expression changed. He knew how terrifying Ling Xiao's strength was. The white-robed young man was no match for Ling Xiao, so he didn't even think about it. He directly punched towards Ling Xiao, wanting to block Ling Xiao. Get lost! Ling Xiao spat out a word indifferently. Then, a golden fist suddenly exploded, crossing the void in all directions. It was so vast that it directly sent the white-robed old man flying with a punch. Whoosh! Ling Xiao appeared in front of the white-robed young man almost instantaneously. He grabbed his neck with one hand and lifted him up like he was a chick. The white-robed young man couldn't fight back at all in Ling Xiao's hands. I'll ask and you'll answer. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now. Ling Xiao said indifferently. There wasn't a trace of emotion in his eyes. The white-robed young man wanted to curse, but when he met Ling Xiao's cold eyes, he couldn't help but shudder. He swallowed all his words. Ling Xiao, let go of my young master. Otherwise, no one can save you. The white-robed elder's eyes were gloomy as he stared at Ling Xiao. However, the white-robed young man was in Ling Xiao's hands. What's your name? Why did you come to my Changsun sect? Ling Xiao ignored the white-robed elder. Instead, he looked at the white-robed young man and asked. Sensing the cold murderous intent in Ling Xiao's eyes, the white-robed young man chose to tell the truth. He gritted his teeth and said, My name is Bai Fang. I'm from the celestial tribe. I heard that you killed the god of war from the war god shrine and destroyed the war god shrine. You're known as the most powerful person in the war god continent. Our heavenly king has issued a decree for you to visit our heavenly king. He also wants your Changsun sect to submit to our celestial tribe. Submit to the celestial tribe? What's the celestial tribe? Do you think you're worthy enough for my Changsun sect to submit to? Long Outyan curled his lips and laughed coldly. What's the cultivation of your heavenly king? Why do you want me to meet him? Ling Shao asked indifferently. Bai Feng said honestly, my heavenly king is a peak true god. He's the strongest person in this world. 1,000,000 years ago, he followed the Scarlet Dragon god of war to conquer the demon race. He's extremely powerful. When he mentioned his majesty, Bai Feng's eyes were filled with admiration. A mere peak true god cultivation base dares to call yourself a heavenly king? How reckless. If he was in the celestial realm, he would have long been beaten to death. Zhu Ganglai sneered. Not everyone in the divine world dared to call themselves kings. Only the peerless experts of the divine king realm dared to call themselves kings. If that heavenly king of the heaven realm was only a true god stage cultivator, then he was truly arrogant and conceited. How many deities are there in your celestial clan? Why was he holed up in the universe river? Why is it reappearing now? Ling Shao asked as calmly as ever. There are more than 10 deities in our celestial clan. All of them followed the Scarlet Dragon war god from the god realm 1,000,000 years ago. It's just that for the past 1,000,000 years, the gates to the divine realm have been closed, and the mortal world can't sense the laws of the divine realm. We had no choice but to seal ourselves in the cosmic river. However, our heavenly king has recently received a decree from the divine realm. The gates to the divine realm will be completely open soon, and that's why we came out. Under Ling Zhao's questioning, Bai Feng honestly told him everything. It turned out that the celestial clan was really from the divine realm. They opened up a small heaven realm in the cosmic river as the habitat of the celestial clan. Although there were very few people in the celestial clan, every one of them was extremely talented, and their cultivation speed was extremely fast. What moved Ling Shao even more was that the small heaven realm of the celestial clan actually contained a complete set of divine Tao laws. I've told you everything you want to know. Can you let me go now? Bai Feng's eyes were filled with apprehension, and there was no longer a trace of arrogance in them. He originally thought that as a celestial clan expert, he would be able to defeat the group of country bumpkins from the war god continent, not to mention that he had a deity expert with him. However, he didn't expect that Ling Shao, who was rumored to have destroyed the war god temple, was also a deity. Moreover, his strength was extremely terrifying, and he had kicked an iron plate. Now, he only hoped that Ling Shao would let him go. When he returned to the celestial clan, he would definitely invite the heavenly king to kill Ling Shao. Let you go? When did I say that I would let you go? You killed a disciple of the House of Longevity, so you'll have to pay with your life. Ling Shao said coolly. How dare you, Ling Shao? I'm a core member of the celestial clan. If you kill me, the heavenly king won't let you off the hook. The House of Longevity will be razed to the ground because of you. Bai Feng's face fell, and he began to threaten Ling Shao. You don't know the difference between life and death, do you? Ling Shao laughed coldly. Without any hesitation, he snapped Bai Feng's neck and destroyed his life force. Even his nascent divinity was suppressed by the Heaven Devourer cauldron. Although the kid seemed honest, Ling Shao still needed to soul-search him. He couldn't be fooled by him. You deserve to die, Ling Shao. The white-robed elder was instantly enraged. His eyes were filled with incomparably cold killing intent. He had never imagined that Ling Shao would be so vicious as to kill Bai Feng. How could he dare to kill a member of the celestial clan? Was he not afraid of the celestial clan's revenge? Rumble. The white-robed old man's divine power rose around him, emitting a terrifying wave of energy as he slammed his palm toward Ling Shao. Kacha! Black thunderbolts flashed across the sky. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed sharply. He also leaped into the sky and punched out, his powerful qi and blood exploding. Although the white-robed old man was strong, there was no way he could defeat Ling Xiao in his current state. After a few rounds, he was directly blasted to death by Ling Xiao. The white-robed old man's essence, blood and nascent divinity had been refined by Ling Xiao using the heaven-devouring secret technique. The body of a celestial clan member seemed to contain some mysterious power of law. Ling Xiao could even extract a trace of the power of law to nourish himself. These two fellows from the celestial race were both killed by Ling Xiao. The disciples of the House of Longevity looked at Ling Xiao with eyes full of worship. Their nascent divinities were suppressed by Ling Xiao, and he was about to use the soul-searching technique to search their memories. Before long, 2 more people arrived at the House of Longevity. To Ling Xiao's surprise, he knew both of them, but he hadn't seen them in a long time. Li Chunfeng from the Feng Shui aristocratic family, and Mu Tianji from the Tomb King city. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.